Kendrick Green spent the past 2 years with Houston. Around the NFL, running back Kareem Hunt is re-signing with the Chiefs on a one-year deal worth $1.5 million. And then the Lions have re-signed wide receiver Tim Patrick to a one-year contract that is worth up to $4 million. To the Sabres, they were on the ice for practice today. J.J. Peterka missed again with what is being described as a lower body injury. He will not play tomorrow against Las Vegas, but is trending in the right direction and will go on the road trip starting next week. While Josh Norris also missed today, head coach Lindy Ruff said he is being evaluated by the team's medical staff for an undisclosed injury that he has been dealing with. Tough afternoon in local college hoops as two seasons come to an end. UB women, they fall to Toledo 56-49 in the semifinals of the MAC tournament, and then St. Bonaventure, their season ends in a 76-59 loss to VCU in the A10 quarterfinals. And then in the Players' Championship over at TBC Sawgrass, Akshay Bhatia and Min Woo Lee are tied for the lead at 11 under par. And for more on the players, tune in to Tee to Green right here on WGR tomorrow morning from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Again, right here on WGR. And they will be live from the Western New York PGA headquarters. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of business. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
My dad's not here right now. He's still at work. So I'm going to blast him.
Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
I'm going to see if there's a clean version so that my parents and the people at my school will not get mad at me. We've got the spritzer filled with water just in case if stuff gets too fire. I'm going to set up the speaker and I'm going to listen to
Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
I think this is the best
Mike Schopp
feature that I've heard in a long time. I think his flow is really good in it, and I like his aggressiveness on it, and
the Bulldog.
Put not enough effort in it. I think overall his flow was good, but I don't like that mobile rapping. That was my review of
Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Didn't need a spritzer. Wasn't fire enough. No spritzer for you. No spritzer.
Happy Friday and St. Patrick's Day weekend. How high on a day ranking on the day board would today be? A Friday where it's prematurely really warm and nice out heading into St. Patrick's Day weekend? That's up there.
It would rate very highly. It rates highly enough that I, on Tuesday, looking at the forecast, considered taking the day off. But I realized I'm leaving to go on a long vacation. I won't be here next Friday through the whole following week. And I thought that's a jerky thing to do. I can't do that. So I didn't do that.
I took last Friday
but
off.
I thought, well, sure, but whatever.
I didn't have a long vacation coming up.
You would just come back from a week off. But anyway, I just didn't want to do it, so I didn't. But I thought about it simply because it was tracking toward this day being as beautiful as it is. And as it turned out, I got to do what I really wanted to do anyway, not in its entirety. I mean, I played 9 holes instead of 18 holes this morning, and that worked out fine. So I didn't burn a day off. I didn't have to feel guilty, and I'm here, and it's beautiful out, and it's going to be pretty nice tomorrow.
My Weather Channel app, today 73, tomorrow 67, Sunday 66, Monday 38, Tuesday 60, Wednesday 70. Make up your mind.
Okay.
It's a new year, a chance to do things differently on the golf course, whatever that might be.
Yep.
A grip change, new clubs, new clothes, whatever it is. And maybe for you, I would, politely suggest a new attitude when it comes to the fans. Just give them a little bit more. Who is out there on a Friday morning watching you play 9 holes? These people have their own lives. They're out there packing the galleries, and you make a putt and nothing. And I don't know. I feel like you're not that guy, really. You're a nice guy. You should be the one, even if it's that you see it everybody's doing now, that half wave.
You have no idea how much I have ripped off your whole rap when it comes to the golfing.
Oh, really? So you are doing this?
I was playing by myself today.
Let's go.
Almost.
I want video.
Out of sight of I saw some dog walkers. I did see a group I played with, or one man I played with a lot last year, right as I was finishing up. They were going out on 11 as I was walking up 18, and those fairways are right next to one another, and we recognized one another from across the way and had a moment there. So I did see a couple of other groups, but mostly there was no one within eye shot of me or eye of they all day. And all day. It was 90 minutes. I mean, it's 9 holes at Delaware Park by myself, so it was pretty quick.
When you play like you do, it's fast.
But you better believe I tipped my hat after I parred the first 3 holes.
Didn't you make it look, though, like you just had to adjust your hat? Or did you actually, hang in, hold the pose for a few seconds?
I went in on the full, like 3 little tugs at the brim.
I think the tipping point
does that
3 tugs at the brim?
Yeah, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Did you let go and then back on?
No.
Go?
Like one, but
Is this 3 tugs at the brim?
Yeah. I think I don't have a hat on, sadly, to demonstrate this for our audience on Twitch.
No, you don't need a hat. We got it.
I'm sorry, I mean the Twitch.
We got it. The tipping point is if it can't be just something you're doing naturally. Like it can't be just you're adjusting your hat, or say you sort of raise the putter to, in your mind, you're like thanking the galleries. You sort of raise your putter, but it could just be that you're just sort of, just sort of a natural movement.
I did stop short of pointing at the balls it was going in and then pointing at them. That's a little too showy for me. I like to be a little more understated than that, so I did not go to that. Not that I've ever seen you even do that, but I
never make a putt.
I did acknowledge the nobody that was watching today numerous times. Not numerous, like 3 times. I had 3 pars. They were the first 3 holes I played of the year, and then I bogeyed or double bogeyed my way.
And then you parred the last 2. You had 5 pars in 9 holes your first time out. Come on. That's pretty good, no matter where you're playing. The half wave, is that the way you describe that now, where you see, like I just saw Sepp Straka make a putt, and the crowd starts to applaud, and he sort of comes up to his waist, and his hand is sort of like horizontal, parallel to the ground. Mm-hmm. And then you take the ball out of the cup. Maybe you do that a second time. That's what I like. I like that. I like the half wave, take the ball out, then the second half wave. And, if I'm feeling really good, I'll go to the Sluman.
What is the Sluman?
The Sluman is, this goes back many years, Jeff Sluman, where you make your putt of any length, really, but better if it's longer, and you reach in and you pick the ball out from the hole, like your fingers are in the Spock position.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
And you sort of pick the ball out, grabbing it between your ring finger and your middle finger, and you hold it there. And then with the ball in your hand, then it's like pointer finger and thumb to the brim. And the ball is still there.
A little harder to get the ball
hot.
out of the hole with that Spock configuration if you generally are leaving flags in.
Yeah,
I feel like it's a little high, and then that's become very.
I don't like the flag in,
especially today by myself. Like I'm not. I mean, I'm just. I didn't get out there till 10:30. I didn't want to, so I just raced through it.
But
really.
they did have flags.
They did have flags. Yeah, they're open. Yeah.
Okay.
Not taking tee times, but they're open. So we'll see what tomorrow morning brings.
Are they taking money?
They are taking money.
Okay,
yes,
they're open then. Yeah. Because if they weren't taking money, they're
open
not
for
open.
business. And I'm very excited. I posted on Twitter. Did you see my golf tweet today?
There were ball markers.
Ball markers. Those are new. The first time I've seen them, at the counter there in the little clubhouse, and I bought 2 of those on my way home. When I checked in, my wallet was in my bag and it was out front, and I just said, I'm going to come back for these. So I did on my way out the door, and I'm excited because I had lost. I'd had for a long time a little magnet ball marker from a U.S. Open that was played at Olympia Fields. Is that San Francisco?
Olympic is San Francisco.
Okay, Olympic it was.
Olympic Club.
I had, the Olympic Club. And it was nice. Had one side had the year, the other side had the club's insignia with the open, whatever their graphic was for that. And it was a little ball mark fixer. And bit by bit, I lost the magnet with the year on the back. Then I lost the ball marker, the tool itself. But I still had that Olympic Club ball marker that I carried around in my pocket, and last year I lost that. So, and I realized that today when I got my stuff out to get ready to go play. And so how convenient that the place I play all the time has these really cool little customized ball markers because I needed new ball markers.
Right on time for you.
Yeah, perfect. So
what are the goals this year? You've broken 80 numerous times. Shoot in the 60s?
I don't know about
Is
this.
that a goal?
I don't know. Well, I mean, I guess close enough.
That's serious stuff.
I got to last year fooling around with trying to shoot even par at Delaware. I think sometime in July last year, I posted a 73, and that's when I started thinking I could do this. I should really strive to do this. Mm-hmm. And then a few weeks later, I shot a 71.
Well,
par is 70, so I mean I was very close, but I don't think I shot below 75 again the rest of the year. Like I just didn't. That was my peak, and I couldn't get closer than that. But I think I still want to pick up there. Because breaking 80, like today I shot 40 for 9, so right around 80.
first time out.
Yeah. And, it's tough. You're not getting any kind of roll. The greens are very, very slow and kind of bumpy, and it's rough. Excuse time already. You ready? But I'm going to be shooting for that. I'd like to, if I play 65 rounds of golf, almost all of them there, which is what I did last year, I'm going to hope that I am able to get there once. So we'll see how that goes. I'm also trying to hold off my kid because Owen, this is his 4th season now playing, and we've done quite a bit of simulator stuff this off season, and he's played. I mean, he's working on the morning show, so he's out of here at whatever time. He's already played 4 times.
That's the best shift for golfing.
And he has beaten me already. Like last year, I think he beat me maybe twice out of the 40 or 50 times we played together. So it's not unprecedented that he will score better than me.
He and I played a match against you.
But I feel like he's gonna blow by me this year. Like he's getting better. He's a big dude, and his swing, he's really ripping the ball.
His slot there, so he's working somewhere else too. But this is like my summer of love in Rochester. That morning show shift, and then single with enough money to do it, and some hookups, different courses. I posted 90 rounds in the year 2000, like officially.
Right.
And that does not include with the radio station at the time, like a weekly Monday scramble. Like most Mondays I was playing in a charity event. Again, like get out of work at 9 and then just roll out there. It's sometimes playing 36. So all those scrambles plus 90 official rounds, and it's probably still this way. It's been a long time since I've kept a handicap, but where it's only like a few months of the year where you can actually post a score.
Yeah, I couldn't.
Like today you can't post a score, right?
What's funny is I knew I played last year on March the 5th because the app, the USG, whatever, the US GIN or whatever it's called. Yeah. I went back, like, how soon did we play last year? And I had a score posted for March 5th last year. The guy in the clubhouse today told me they did not open until the end of March last year. So I guess, we must have just, whatever. They generally are fine with that. But today I went to post my 9-hole score in there, and it said, the course you played is not eligible for scores to be posted yet. Okay. Which was weird to me because it's a week, 10 days later than last year, and I posted a score, and they weren't open then either. Anyway, whatever. So I'm not going to get credit for this great 40 I shot today.
Except from, the listeners who will line up to tell you. And, of course, the people who are out there watching and following your group.
That saw it all live in person.
Following your group.
That is right.
Just give them, you don't have to go as far as I will do on occasion, which is make like a phone gesture, thumb to my ear, pinky finger to my mouth, and then do the pound sign. Like, I'll get your number later. That's really sort of lived out its usefulness now. I mean, you don't really do that anymore. But always fun to engage with the crowd at these early season
So goals
events.
Are, even par round. I hope it's still out there for me. and try to at least be competitive with my kid, because I just have a feeling he's going to be posting really low scores all year.
Good goal.
We'll see, but his game looks like it's in really good shape. So, and I'm not just trying to set myself up for failure here. Like I just think he's been getting better. He's obviously a lot younger than me. I'm a year older. We'll see how it goes, but I'm so excited. I really, really am.
Great to have a warm weekend.
It really
Tomorrow
is.
might be wet.
Yeah, I don't know not till later in the day, I think.
Okay.
So we're going to go early and hopefully get it in.
Okay.
We'll see, but I know there is rain in the forecast.
Creeping shorts day today. I mean, let's go. Creeping toward the virtual end of free agency. Like it's been a fun week. Rumors last weekend and reports, stuff last week at this time. Then Monday officially, and now it's not though that everybody is taken. Like a question about what if there's anything else you'd want the Bills to do can be asked. Corner, right? We don't have Douglas resolution yet, do we?
No, he's not signed. I guess I was just 2 days early on Dane Jackson, as it turns out.
Dane Jackson, never wrong, just early.
Yep.
Should we want Douglas?
Not really. I don't know. It depends on the price and the term and all that, and I would think that's all going down as he sits here waiting. It doesn't have to be that, but that's what it feels like to me. Like if somebody was going to make him a deal that he really liked, the Bills or anyone else, that would have happened already, and it hasn't. So if the price is right and there is no better idea, then I don't want to be closed to it, but I liked the idea of trying to find their way to getting better there, and I don't think Dane Jackson accomplishes that. And keeping Douglas, certainly I don't think accomplishes that unless you want to somehow explain to me how he'll be better than he was last year. I don't think he had a very good year. So I'm not eager to do that. It feels like just sort of settling for it. And that doesn't necessarily mean that, like we talked about Stephon Gilmore a little bit yesterday with Sal, I think.
A little bit.
Asante Samuel Jr. is out there, but there seems to be some medical concern. And, those don't have to necessarily be better ideas than Rasul Douglas.
Trey White.
What they are is different. Trey White's another one that Sale brought up yesterday. But nothing to me, I don't think that there's a guy they could sign that I would then think, all right, they're definitely not drafting a corner at 30. I'm not convinced they are going to, but to me, I think I said this a couple of days ago when I thought Dane Jackson had signed already, that gives you a guy and it's some familiarity, and Douglas would be the same thing, maybe just at a tier above Dane Jackson, but it should not at all remove the need to get a guy in here that can be opposite Christian Benford on a rookie contract moving forward. Like, I think they need to supplement what they have, and as much as there are needs elsewhere, I don't feel great about the corner opposite Benford right now. I think it's the most glaring need on the roster still right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. We've spent a lot of time on defensive tackles, but in terms of the draft, which you, needless to say, I suppose, what you want to be able to do there, and I know this is in the wake of Kyer Elam's arrival and then departure, is have somebody to go along with, a second contract, like Trey White was. You're going for that. Trey White was the 27th pick, right? His number in the first round after the trade with Kansas City. Mm-hmm. So that's what free agency is not going to afford you that. You could find somebody that can pass as a starter this year, and that's fine. You're trying to win a championship, and that might be best even with what the risks are for, a rookie. But that's what you want to be able to do there is short and long term. And free agency is more just like for a couple of years, whoever it would be. Yeah,
all over already. They've like the defensive tackle Ogunjobi 1 year, Bosa 1 year. So the need at tackle and end I think is still, it's just as valid to me that you could argue and see them pick one of those positions at 30 and say, like, that addresses a need. But Ogunjobi is here, and I expect to play a part in the rotation. Daquan Jones, by the way, is still here. Part of the defensive tackle conversation, at least from my end, has been with the expectation that they might want to move on from him, so go replace him in free agency and or the draft. Bosa 1 year. So you've got guys there that are going to take those spots that I think are above what they have at second corner right now, if that makes sense. So I still, that's why I say corner still, for me, would be prioritized when you're looking at the draft. Again, not knowing how it's going to fall or, how they have the prospects stacked and all of that.
Man, Benford's leverage is pretty good.
Yes, it is.
Right? What he has basically graded out to be as a player, Elam is gone, if that even mattered. Douglas is maybe gone. Come on, they really need him. And I'm not saying they won't sign him. We talk about Cook all the time, though. Benford, similar, and it's probably time for a big contract for him. So he does have some pretty good leverage, Benford, with the Bills. Laviska Shenault happened last night. And go on, talk slower. Laviska Shenault. He's like, we had our fun with Claypool. Was that crazy in retrospect that here's Chase Claypool last year, the Big Maple, right, was his?
Mapletron.
Big Maple's a basketball player?
Mapletron.
Okay, so tools.
Right.
High draft capital. Didn't work out. Okay, let's try it. Not only, he had an injury right away in whenever that was, July or August, but gets released by the Bills and ends up nowhere. I don't think he ever, that I remember, signed anywhere.
No, I don't think so. Did you just ask, was that silly, stupid? What?
No, I'm just was it, whatever the word was.
Yeah. In
retrospect, was it kind of a lot to get excited about him? I don't think it was. I don't regret it.
I don't. I would. That's why I wanted to make sure, how you were describing that. I don't think it's ever stupid to hope that a guy that has flashed can show up and it's your turn to try it on and see if you can find a way to the untapped potential. I would never say it's ridiculous, silly to hope for that. To count on it is another thing. And, I think whenever we talked about it, it was, I feel like, cloaked in hope, not expectation. And a player like Shenault is firmly in the same classification to me. He feels even more so than a guy like Claypool, sort of like, I don't know if folk hero fits, but he's got his fans. There's always been, even going back to his draft year, a movement, a portion of the football world that analyzes it, whether it's fantasy or data, whatever. This guy's got tools. He'll fit. I saw a Trapasso tweet last night when this was learned it was happening, that last year Shenault was his favorite free agent idea for the Bills.
All right.
So he's always had these corners of football, again, analysis that thought, this guy, it should happen. Look at him. Watch him with the ball in his hands. It's got to work. And then it just never really does. And then he's on to say, he's been a million places. He's still a pretty young guy.
Yep.
So I'm totally here for take a shot at it. I'm not. But my expectation sitting here today is that he probably won't make it.
Well, that probably would be the odds-on prediction.
But I'm not going to roll my eyes at you if you want to call us or send me a message on the Twitch that says I remember him at Colorado and I think you might be right. Teams do these things for a reason. So take your shot. I've seen a lot of reference to his return ability. But he's exclusively been only a kickoff return guy. And I think that hurts him here. Because if the Bills wanted to keep Now, the rules are changing, so maybe just being a kickoff return guy, or they might change, excuse me, I shouldn't rush to it, but there's talk about the touchback coming to the 35, therefore more balls in play, so maybe you might prioritize that more highly than you have in the past, but like they kept a corner last year to return both punts and kickoffs, and the guy only played corner in the games that didn't even matter. I think if you only do one of those two...
You mean Codrington?
Codrington, right.
Okay.
I think if you only do one of those two, like Chenault, he's not had a single punt return in his NFL career. And at this point, I'm going to assume that this disqualifies him from being a punt returner, because with the way his career has gone, if he wanted to do that or was thought to be able to do that, I think that would have already happened, right? To try to increase his value, you would have seen him do it, and it just has never happened. He hasn't returned a single punt in the NFL.
Second-round pick in 2020.
I think he's got to win a job as a receiver well enough to justify being here for just kick returns if he can't return punts. Like, he's not going to beat out Codrington based on that, I don't think.
Yeah, he was good.
Yeah. Unless, they want to pivot and have, I don't know, Shakir, who's basically their number one receiver, return punts, which they did when Codrington wasn't available, and I wouldn't expect them to want to do that either. So I think Chenault's got to beat out somebody. Curtis Samuel, maybe. I don't know. He's got to beat out somebody to make the team as a receiver, I think, because he doesn't return both kicks and punts.
That'll be tough.
Yes.
803-0550. What, if anything? If nothing, you can, just chill. If there's anything you think the Bills should still be trying to do in free agency, maybe corner is most obvious, let us know. We'll be looking for your calls after the break. Happy Friday. Beautiful and warm out. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR.
to play with Justin, and I'm extremely thankful for the Chargers, from being drafted there and playing there for my 4 years, and Coach Staley and Tom Telesco and then Joe Ortiz and Coach Harbaugh. Playing with Herbo has got me to this point, and now I'm blessed enough to play with Josh Allen. So I'm excited to get to work. I've only ever played with Justin, so you can imagine the excitement to see what it's going to be like to play with Josh and to play with this team and this organization.
You can hear it there at the end. Organization, Joshua Palmer.
Canadian heritage. There it is.
There it is. There it is.
Good catch.
Sal pointed out to us yesterday that he and Joey Bosa went to the same high school in Florida. But I read that Palmer moved to Florida when he was 15. It's like he said business decision.
Okay.
To get eyeballs.
Right.
And I guess it worked.
I guess so too, because here he is.
Funny, when I want people to look at me, I go to Oakville. I don't know if that works. It doesn't. Just the thought of it. Just threw it out there. Here's Andrew with us. Hi, Andrew.
Hi, guys. How are we doing today?
Good. Thank you for calling us.
First thing I want to just get out of the way, I am a huge fan of you guys. I've been listening. I'm 25 years old. I've been listening to you guys for probably around 11 or 12 years religiously. Bulldog, I haven't had the pleasure to be able to meet you, but Schopp, I was able to meet you, I believe it was around 2 years ago at one of your kids' ball games. I was the pitcher, actually, for the Northtown Nationals, and I came up to you all nervously, as I am even right now.
I remember, yes. That was in North Tonawanda. I remember that, yes, very well.
Yes, so I just wanted to be able to mention that.
Well, thank you. Thank you for listening for as long as you have. Appreciate
so this guy, Bulldog, was actually pitching in like an adult game, and my son was there with his youth team. They weren't against each other.
Okay, right. I was having trouble rectifying the ages there, but all right.
I just felt like I needed to point that out.
Right, that makes sense.
I don't think you ever faced my son, Andrew. Pretty sure.
Not that I can at least recall.
Okay.
But the question that I wanted to be able to get to was, what do we think about the idea for Rasul Douglas just transferring over back to safety, where he was very successful? I wouldn't say with the Eagles where he struggled, but with the Packers where we originally got him before he transferred to corner. The safety market is obviously a lot cheaper than the corner market, and we could reduce the amount of money paying him and obviously still go after that first-round corner. I believe that Rasul, while he's lost a lot of his speed and probably luster for the jump on the ball, has a very high IQ and would be a great center fielder in the back of the zone comparatively to what we've had in the past.
I'm not inclined to just disagree with the idea of him changing positions immediately. Often I am. Like when people let's make Ristolainen into a winger. Like, cut it out. Just stop trying so hard.
When did that ever work last?
I don't know. So I'm not I'm not annoyed by that at all. I'm not annoyed in general with any of this. I think they're kind of close to all set at safety, like depth-wise. And so... And I would consider Douglas to be the same if you were to transition him there, because you'd be trying that out. They brought Hamlin back. They brought Forrest in from Washington. They've got Cole Bishop and Taylor Rapp. I'm done. I don't know. I don't think they're even... I'd be stunned. I love this Nick Emenwuri from South Carolina. I'd be stunned if they drafted him at 30 because of the point I'm making. I think they've got probably what you might expect to be their four safeties already here, and that doesn't even include Cam Lewis, who can swing back there if you need him to. So I don't see a need to push if Douglas were under contract still and they saw deterioration in his ability to play corner at the level they want and wanted to replace him but thought he still could have some value as a safety, then I might say, yeah, you should try that. Bringing him in to experiment with that, I wouldn't be a fan of the idea.
Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, I don't think they would need to do it either, but it's clever. 803-0550 is the number. Josh Norris is injured. Or has been the whole time.
The football analyst?
I don't know his status.
Sorry. Yeah, Josh Norris is injured. Great.
I don't think that comes as any surprise to people inside, maybe?
Probably not. that is his history, and that's, it's not even been a week. Well, it's been a week, exactly a week. Actually, it was before 3 o'clock last Friday that they made that transaction official. And yeah, so that coupled with, look, it's only one television show and it's only been 3 games, but I was watching the Leafs and the Panthers last night. It was the TSN, the big game, so like the number one announcing crew and the panel studio show with James Duthie and a group of analysts up there. Marty Baron was sitting in for Jeff O'Neill, who's normally on that show, so it was nice to see Marty in that spot. And their first intermission, one of the subjects they discussed, might have been like in the form of a quiz, was after Dylan Cousins, who's had the second biggest impact of all the players moved at the trade deadline? Like, just assuming that everyone would say, if you just ask the general question, who's had the biggest impact? Dylan Cousins, duh. So he's through 3 games. He scored 2 goals already. Had an assist, I think, last night. That's in your face.
Can I just
come on?
Finish the point. I'm sorry.
It doesn't have to mean anything. It's such a small sample of games, but it was just it was a very Sabre fan moment. You know how many Sabres fans would have been watching that telecast last night? I will gravitate to that game with that broadcast crew almost any time, because it's always usually good teams, good game, and a great broadcast. And so I'm there, and I get that, of course.
I would really love to know if there were some way to measure the Sabres fans' interest in all of this right now. You've said a few times how repetitive it all has been, and when you've gotten loose on them, you notice that nobody responds to you.
Yeah.
And that seems like that's significant. It has to be true. I mean, there's no question that when they're really good, not that it's happened in a decade and a half, but when they're really good, then there's just a lot more people engaging on them. That's just that's normal. So likewise, when it's like this, it would be fewer. And when it's like this for so long,
right,
that many fewer still. But I don't know how I would really measure that. I wouldn't do it by, and you didn't say we should, how many people watch the Leafs and Panthers play. I mean, you've got diehard hockey fans like yourself that will watch a game most nights, even if the Sabres are not in it. But I got to think, and maybe this is just what I'm saying because it's me, but that a lot of people have walked away, at least for now. And also, is this wrong? I want to see Cousins kill it.
Sure.
I mean,
well,
I kind of do. I don't know what it's going to take.
I want my shirt back because I'm not. It annoyed me to see that last night. I'm not so dead inside that it didn't annoy me. So I don't want to say sure to wanting him to succeed. I'm tired of them looking like a clown car all the time.
I know, but so am I. I feel like the only thing that can change anything is if Terry Pegula splashes some water on his face, whatever it is, and sort of figures out that his only, not that it's literally true, but it certainly seems this way, his only chance, his only hope in getting them out of the ditch is to put a serious hockey lifer executive in place and then just sit back. Because you don't want the owner involved. And, Kevin Adams has said how he is involved, and I think Adams kind of says it in a way that feels like it makes it all look better, because there are people who think, where's Terry? But I don't really want him in the scouting meetings, that's kind of what Adams has said he is involved in. Anyway, just the credibility it's lacking.
I don't need him flying into Montreal to give the team a pep talk.
No, what feels like a move that would work? Replacing Kevin Adams with yet another assistant somewhere that isn't expensive and, is kind of ready for an NHL GM job, like someone from somewhere else in the league. That won't do it. It's got to be like one of those names.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a matter of whether Pegula wants to do that. can't be a question of whether he can afford to do that. Of course he can afford to do that. He just hasn't wanted to do that. And the Cousins thing has maybe a chance to be not a catalyst necessarily, but the last straw. Like if he goes to Ottawa, not Vegas or Florida. If he goes to Ottawa and kind of lights it up and they're good, and it's like Ottawa, even Ottawa now, at least they've had partners in this sort of misery, including Ottawa, then who knows what the thing will be, if there ever is going to be a thing. But they're at a place where, with respect to the people in there, they could make, this has happened already for like 3 years. They could make moves that, I get it. I like this idea. Okay, I get it. And still, like, how far does that get you as a fan? It's more just, doesn't matter. And I don't know what changes this. He has some epiphany or something, or what. But Dylan Cousins being yet another once promising Sabre that gets traded and then makes it. I don't know. I feel like I want that to happen.
Right. Well, we'll see about the making it. It's been a week. It's been 3 games. Casey Middlestat got off to a good enough start with Colorado last year and continued it through their playoffs that he got a contract extension and got traded out of there at this deadline because it was busting and not working. So it takes, and you're not saying different. You're going to need more time than this. That's most of the feedback I got last night when I saw this and tweeted about it last night. If Sabres fans found out about it, maybe largely, not to pat myself on the back, they found out about it because of me. They weren't watching the game, but if they follow me on Twitter, I tweeted about it, like, look at this. And a lot of what I got was, yeah, Casey got up to a good start too. And that's right. He did. So we'll see how it goes long term, but it's just at every turn, there's just an opportunity to sort of put your head in your hands.
Cousins was, when he peaked and got his contract, better than Middlestat ever was. Agree?
100%.
So he's somebody, I never was betting on Middlestat. Like that, for as much credit as the Sabres got and give themselves for the hockey trade, I don't think Middlestat was very good. I don't think Byram is very good. Like just sort of two guys that are young and that had flashes and fit the other team's needs a little better, but I wouldn't want to pay either one. I mean, are they going to pay Byram to like what a disaster that would be. But it's kind of thing maybe they would do because maybe he likes it. Around maybe he's happy. I don't know. 803-0550, Mike Schopp and the Bulldog. Adam Krautwurst, Bulldog. It's been a while.
It has.
I don't know about you and he, like sort of off-site. Maybe you're hanging out a lot, but it's been a while since we've talked to Adam on the show. That'll be at 4 today. Brian Koziol later on. We'll talk some golf with Brian. He's got his Tee to Green show on WGR tomorrow morning. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR.
More of Schopp
Oh, love it. Takes me back. This song.
To where?
To one of my first concerts.
This is the Captain and Tennille?
That was my first concert and yours, right?
Yes.
That's so funny.
The C&E Grandstand. The Captain and Tennille were special guests of the band America.
Oh, yeah, America.
That was the show. During the Canadian National Exhibition, the five of us, my two sisters and my folks and me.
I think mine was Melody Fair. Do you know where the guys from America were born?
I never have
cared about them.
I mean, I liked those songs.
Ventura Highway.
But for a band that I, can put a stake in the ground and say this is the first live concert I ever really attended, at least that I remember. We probably went to other stuff, country music stuff that I just don't recall. I've never done any work on them. I've never sat with one of their records in my hands. I've never looked at their Wikipedia page. So I don't know anything about them.
I saw an interview with them once. They're born in London.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yes. Army kids, maybe?
Yeah.
Parents stationed in London, and they were born in London. Or at least one of them. Maybe both. I think both.
Don't ask me for any confirmation on any of this.
All right. Just trying to keep the streak going, a little music trivia. With no back checks, with no making no effort to find out, to make sure it's right.
I do like, I think occasionally my Facebook feed, I don't need to tell anyone how that works. Like you click on stuff and so then you get more of it. And a lot of what I see in my Facebook feed, aside from extremely astute and borderline brilliant takes on politics, is chord charts, like lyrics and like how to play songs on the guitar, basically. And I think I've got maybe Sister Golden Hair somewhere saved. If not Horse with No Name, I don't know, like any one of those songs, or maybe both, I would have seen one day scrolling through Facebook and just taken a screenshot of it. Like, I might want to someday sit down and learn how to play that. Probably not that hard, okay. So I probably have it stashed away somewhere.
I think you might want to try the very beginning of Ventura Highway. Starts with a guitar melody. Yeah, it's great. That, one idea. You had your own ideas.
I know those
the
two songs I mentioned better than I know I've heard Ventura Highway, but I can't hum it for you right now.
Okay.
The other two
starts with guitar.
The other two I could bang out for you right now.
Looks like one of them is from should we get to that point? Should we have that, everybody? Should we have Bulldog playing America songs? Another time. Seattle is the betting favorite for Cooper Kupp, according to Bet Online. He's from Washington State. He played in Washington. He played Eastern Washington, I think it was, college football. So maybe that's why. But I also saw a report that he was visiting Seattle, and they kind of need somebody.
Yeah, they do.
Trading Metcalf and releasing Tyler Lockett.
I've not seen anything since this morning, but as many as 5 teams may be interested, but initially balking at his ask of $12 to $14 million a year, I think is what I read this morning. Also kind of curious that there's reporting that the Vikings are part of the holdup, maybe the reason for the holdup on Aaron Rodgers making a decision, because he's waiting to find out if they want him. Which, Minnesota, what are you trying to do to yourselves? You're good.
They should want a veteran in there, but not him.
No. Right.
No. Have some pride.
Good.
You've been losing to him for so long with Green Bay. Like, just have some pride. No, we are not taking you. I know you're desperate. We're going to pick. We're better than you now. We're going to pick somebody else. Thank you anyway. Goodbye. Maybe they're just. Hopefully, I think if you don't like Rodgers, they just be pretending to have interest in him, but not
jerking him
really.
Around. That would be great. Yeah, because that would easily be the best team that's been mentioned as it pertains to him. I mean, they're better than Pittsburgh and way better than the Giants, I think, moving forward. But, oh my gosh, to not bring Darnold back, I didn't want to do that either. This is a way worse idea than even that. I mean, you drafted the kid, rookie contract. Let's get busy living here.
Worse idea and probably more expensive.
Yeah.
I think for some reason. We'll see what ends up happening with Rodgers. Next up, Adam Krautwurst. We'll talk some Bills and some fantasy stuff with him. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here on this sunny, warm Friday, St. Patrick's Day weekend. This is WGR.
The Buffalo Bills continue to make additions through free agency, and they're bringing in a familiar face at cornerback as Dane Jackson returns to the Bills on a one-year deal. He was with the team from 2020 to 2023 after being a seventh-round pick by the team and then spent last year with the Carolina Panthers. The team also announced the signing of guard Kendrick Green to a one-year deal. Green spent the last 2 seasons with Houston. Around the rest of the NFL, running back Kareem Hunt is re-signing with the Chiefs on a one-year, $1.5 million deal. And then edge rusher Dante Fowler Jr. signing with the Cowboys on a one-year deal worth up to $8 million. To the Sabres, they were on the ice for practice today. J.J. Peterka missed again with what is being described as a lower body injury. He's not going to play tomorrow against Las Vegas, but is trending in the right direction and will go on the road trip starting next week with the team. While Josh Norris also missed today, head coach Lindy Ruff said he is being evaluated by the team's medical staff for an undisclosed injury that he has been dealing with. In college hoops, it was a tough afternoon locally. UB women fall to Toledo 56-49 in the semifinal of the MAC tournament, while St. Bonaventure, their season ends 76-59 loss to VCU in the A-10 quarterfinals. And then in the Players' Championship over at TBC Sawgrass, Akshay Bhatia and Minwoo Lee are tied for the lead at 11 under par. For more on the players, do tune in to Tee to Green right here on WGR tomorrow morning from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. And it'll be live from Western New York PGA headquarters. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of business. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
How many bees is a swarm? Is 2 a swarm or 3? Whatever. How many does it have to be? And
I feel like 7.
It's Mike Schopp.
how many times do you have to be stung to have been swarmed? And I was like, dude, I got swarmed. I got stung only once, but I was swarmed.
And the Bulldog.
You insist you were swarmed.
There were bees, man, like plural, big, lots of S's. Lots of E's and S's. Bees. That was not
Bees.
fun. Right. That was not fun.
On WGR.
Hey, man, that kind of hurt.
Sports Radio 550.
Not a great day for the fantasy sickos in your life, in your midst. How many fantasy sickos, Bulldog, are in your midst right now?
You and the guy on the West Shore hotline.
Adam.
That's that's it.
And Adam Krautwurst, who joins us now, affected just the same, even though he hasn't been drafting football as much as he's been drafting baseball. But Underdog, some class action suit, political reasons, of course, has stopped offering drafts and pick'em contests in New York as of just a couple of hours ago. So I've got like 10 or 15 that are underway. I'm allowed to draft in those, which is good, I guess, but nothing new. Adam, this is a blow.
Yeah, tough for us sickos out there, like you were saying. 33 baseball drafts deep, 0 first or second picks. So that might be it for me.
How about that?
I might not get a shot at Shohei Ohtani or Aaron Judge at all.
How about that? What are the odds of that? Actually, we could figure that out, but not great.
Why don't you try a little harder, Adam?
I know.
Adam and I have a running thing for years now about how I always get I get to pick first for whatever reason.
Yep.
And Adam never does. So he asked me to log in as him and see if it made a difference. But too late now because it's shut down. Great.
Well, maybe that's why it got shut down. Maybe you were trying to log in under me. Who knows?
Maybe it's my fault. That's right. Well, even though you have been drafting, rookies and teams for 2025 NFL seasons, I'm sure you're up on like the big news in the NFL, the free agent moves, some of which are pretty significant. And as far as the Bills go, they've got James Cook to figure out. That's not a free agent move, but bringing in Joshua Palmer at wide receiver. Do you expect Palmer? Have you liked him as a player? I don't think you and I have hardly ever talked about him on the deep end or anything. But what kind of what kind of production do you expect there? And then we can figure out if that's playable in fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, I expect him to be their man beater, right? Like all this, the stuff's come out recently about how good he was against man defense last year, which is great. I think that's the role they kind of brought in Cooper to fill last year. They've got, their offense, as you guys know, they just kind of deploy their offense accordingly to like whatever defense that they're playing, and they target the players against those specific defenses. So, there'll be games like like Cooper had last year, where he was heavily involved, and then there will be games where he wasn't involved at all against certain zone defenses. So that's where I see Palmer. That's where I see kind of the Bills' receiving core again this season. Is just a bunch of is it your game? Is it time for you to perform? And I think, again, a lot of these guys will just be more best ball targets rather than guys that you really want to start. But, Palmer's still young enough where maybe he's got something. The thing that makes me nervous about him is, he already played with a pretty good quarterback in Justin Herbert and didn't really have, a ceiling outcome. So I don't really know how much more. I think he'll be a better football player than he will be a fantasy player. You'll have Shakir and, obviously all the other weapons there, and who knows if they're done at receiver. I think they probably are significantly as far as adding another significant receiver. But Palmer could see himself on the field, maybe, I don't know, can he run block? Is he Mac Hollins, next year where he plays 70% of the snaps? Who knows?
Well, that's interesting, Adam, because I with Hollins leaving, that happened after Palmer signed, right? That was the same evening, I think. And so we spent a day with the idea of them both being here, and it felt like, okay, Palmer, there's my Cooper replacement. I thought they needed a Cooper replacement in this receiving core, and counting on Coleman to just, ascend right away here in year 2 would have been a bet I wouldn't be willing to make with a team that's a Super Bowl contender. But now Hollins is out the door, and I sort of feel like, unless you're counting on Coleman to take a step, and maybe they are, but that, again, to me, feels like a bit of a risk, even though he's a relatively high pick. I wonder if they are all done. And I know they signed Chenault last night, and so that's another body. But as far as someone who you can look at the team today and go, all right, I'm all set, I'm not sure if I'm all set.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I think they've gotten away from. I don't think the Bills or Josh want that alpha number one. I think they did it with Diggs, and it worked. I think everything works for them. Last year they were top 3 again in scoring, and they had no one that you really loved in that receiving core as far as stats were concerned. We all wanted it. We're oh great, they signed Cooper, and then Cooper almost had more catches in one game with the Browns the year before than he had 6 games or whatever it was with the Bills last year. I don't think they want that. I think they want to keep defenses guessing, which we hate for stats, we hate for fantasy, but it feels like everything works for them, and so I think they're going to continue to do it. I mean, again, I wouldn't hate them adding a big-time weapon, but I don't think they want to spend the money on it. I think, they haven't really been in on – I mean, thank God they didn't go get DK Metcalf for $30 million a year, and maybe Cooper is an option. Maybe he's going to test free agency. He's not going to get what he wants. He seemed to really like it in Buffalo, so maybe he will come back, but he barely played last year. I don't know if he's a bad run blocker, but from a Bills fan, I kind of like this idea of kind of just kind of putting the different pieces out there. I mean, I hate the idea of not having James Cook on the field for the last possession of the season, but that's just kind of been their style. And for fantasy, it sucks. The only guy I really like is Khalil Shakir, I think, this year so far.
We've gone a long way here, and this is happening a lot. Well, I mean, also because of what's topical, but analyzing the Bills' passing offense without mentioning Keon Coleman or Dalton Kincaid. Last year at this time, we were asking these same questions. Coleman eventually. I mean, the draft hadn't happened yet, but who will be the man in the offense? And really, it wasn't anybody, no more so than Shakir, who led them in stats. What are your feelings about Kincaid and then Coleman versus a year ago? It's 2 years now for Kincaid. There haven't been touchdowns. There haven't been, big games. Do you sort of buy the idea that injuries were a problem for him and that it'll get there, or maybe are you worried about that at this point?
Yeah, Kincaid's different. We used to wait 3-4 years for tight ends to break out. We used to wait 3 years for receivers to break out. So sometimes you kind of got to remember, these breakouts don't always come in their rookie year, even when you're playing with the MVP. Coleman's interesting. A lot of times in fantasy circles, we talk about the second-year breakout now and just kind of blindly taking these second-year receivers. You think of guys like JSN last year heading into a second year. Hey, just blindly take him because he's a talented player, and then he has an insane year. I don't expect that out of Coleman, but there is something to be said. Injuries, rookie, maybe he takes that second-year step. I mean, I think he should be at least as good as Gabe Davis was, kind of the same type of player. I think he's probably better. And then the tight end situation. And I do like the fact that the coaching staff and the GM kind of called them both out, like, hey, they got to get stronger. They got to get better. We need them to type of thing. And maybe that lights a fire for them. And if they don't make any other significant additions to this offense, I could see them having years where they step up and kind of perform. I think, too, kind of back to the James Cook point, is he scored a lot of touchdowns for a guy that didn't get a lot of goal line carries and didn't get catches. Maybe some of those long touchdowns turn into long touchdowns for Keon Coleman or Dalton Kincaid, and then kind of you see the flip script there.
The way that you just referenced the way that both Beane and McDermott talked about both guys, but especially Coleman, that's part of the reason I already mentioned that I'm like reluctant to just buy into him ascending immediately, because I don't know. I mean, for them to be as direct and pointed as they were in those criticisms of him could be, okay, I don't know, but could be a sign of a deeper problem. Like, to me, it's always just everyone's holding hands and singing songs normally once we get to the off season. He worked hard, he's developing, we believe in him, and instead it was like, we need more, basically. And that makes me wonder just how dug in he was coming back from that injury, and I don't know, maybe maturity even is a question. So that is a bit of a red flag for me. Like, I'm not entirely down on him as a prospect, but I'm worried that the Bills are down on him, and that really doesn't add up to them betting on him, to me.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's all fun and games when he's joking about chocolate chip cookies during a press conference, but then you're like, wait a minute, how serious is he? Mature? Like, how serious is he taking this? I think those are all good points, that we won't really know. And again, is there a disconnect between Beane and McDermott on what type of players he wants? He talked to, he mentioned a couple weeks ago, like he always wants receivers with speed, and maybe like they're drafting guys that don't really fit the offensive scheme. So I don't know, but I hope for their sake and for fantasy wise, like, that if they do want certain types of players, that they just go out and get them, whether it's via trade or via, in the draft trading for speedier receivers, or drafting them, or at least not letting, Kansas City jump ahead of them and take them.
Right. How do you feel about Cook moving forward here? Like, I know it's not exactly a fantasy question, but the contract thing, how he's handling social media, it could be a thing that kind of percolates through the spring, and who knows, maybe even into the summer. Of course, they could sign him to a contract extension tomorrow and it's all over. But I don't know, man. He played not even 50% of the snaps, and being asked to be paid or wanting to be paid at the top of the market, I'm reluctant there. I mean, there's the whole running back thing, period, but then just a guy that's on the field half the time commanding a top-of-market salary, I'm having trouble with.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way they're going to pay it. They did. I mean, it's beautiful I love James Cook as a player for the Bills. It's beautiful for them too. Like, they take him in the third round, and he's awesome, and you get him cheap. That's what you do. One contract, and then you kind of move on from him. I don't think Cook's jockeying. He had a great season, so he's trying to get paid from it, but he's not going to this year with the Bills, I don't think. And so it's just, I think, jockeying back and forth. I think it'll be fine. I think he'll play well again for the Bills next year. I mean, and so, but fantasy-wise, I'm still kind of where I was last year. He doesn't get like those high-value targets, whether it's the catches or the goal line stuff. He just kind of had a really efficient season where he was scoring from longer distances, and he can't really. I mean, I could see his running back. I could see his touchdowns being cut like 2/3 next year. Just he doesn't get as lucky on kind of those long runs. Maybe they miss a. I mean, again, it's little stuff like Matt Collins stuffing guys in lockers 20 yards down the field. If they don't have that,
right,
does he score those 30-yard touchdown runs? So, but I like him for the Bills, obviously, and I think it'll be fine. I mean, you guys kind of have a better pulse on the locker room than I do, but I think he'll be there to play, and then he'll probably move on after his contract.
In fantasy, he's running back 14, which is kind of insane if you just look at sort of the, if you will, the back of the football card stats, right? I mean,
yeah.
18 combined touchdowns, plus he had 2 against Kansas City in the playoffs. Monster year, but Bulldog referenced the snap share, 44%. Last year, 29th among running backs. And sharp, I mean, if you're playing fantasy football in February and March, you're probably kind of really into it. And doesn't mean you're going to be right. But running back 14 behind Chase Brown, who was good for Cincinnati, but Maybe they draft somebody. I don't know. Some of the guys ahead of him, it's a little bit curious that I don't think it's wrong. I don't think it's wrong, Adam, but he's going early 4th round, and that might surprise people.
Yeah, for sure. And again, it's just people have gotten so much sharper these days with all the information.
Podcasts.
Yeah, exactly.
All the good podcasts.
Deep end podcasts, exactly. But I think what you're going to have, too, is you'll probably start seeing analysts talk about, like, he only played, like Bulldog said, he only played like 44% or whatever the snaps. If that upticks to 60, oh, my gosh, what could that mean? They're bringing all the running backs back. Like, it's the same backfield. I don't see it changing. He did miss one game last year, so I think they like keeping him fresh, especially for the playoffs. So I don't see much changing except for maybe some less luck on those long touchdowns.
So there have been some big moves in the league, of course. You mentioned Metcalf before. I think you said you wouldn't have liked that for the Bills. I kind of did like it. I don't like him with Pittsburgh. Like, that is not great. If any receiver is going to go there, we'll see what Pittsburgh does at quarterback, but no answer there yet. It's Metcalf and George Pickens for now on that, in that passing attack. Can that work for both guys?
No, I don't think it can. I mean, what's their best available option right now at quarterback? Is it Rodgers? Is it Russell Wilson? Russell Wilson might be actually better for them. Those are downfield kind of winners there.
Yeah.
Rodgers, I mean, I would lean towards Rodgers being the betting favorite to get the job there. Rodgers is a guy that needs his guys in those specific spots where he wants them, when he wants them there. That's not Metcalf. That's not Pickens. And so they don't pass enough. Arthur Smith is, I don't trust Arthur Smith. So I think Metcalf is kind of in trouble there, and Pickens, as far as fantasy is concerned, they're still going to run the bubble. I'm kind of more interested in their backfield. Najee's gone now with the Chargers. What I kind of be interested to see with their running game is concerned. I like them as an offensive unit. I think they have a ton of talent, but it's just I don't think it's going to happen for Metcalf and Pickens. I mean, I could see them both blowing up on the sidelines one game and it being a huge issue. But fantasy, I definitely don't like it at all.
Is there a place that Rodgers goes where it moves the meter for you at all at this point?
I don't think he goes anywhere that moves the meter positively for me. Right. I mean, I trust. I thought he had a good shot last year. He had the talent around him, and it just never worked out. And I think he's kind of he was having issues. Does he even want to play anymore? That type of thing. So I don't think there's anywhere he would go where I would really be like, oh, that's exciting, because Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson did not have great years with him last season. So and the Jets had a great skill position group around him. Breece Hall, everybody there. So right. I'm not excited for wherever he goes.
What do you think of Devontae Adams on the Rams? I love it.
I love it. You just have to. I mean, he's a better right now. He's a better Cooper. Stafford's a kingmaker at receiver. So I absolutely love it.
Any thoughts on the Bengals situation? There's a report today that from Schefter that they're getting close on Chase and Higgins, if you can believe that. Higgins was somebody that we kind of all figured would be gone like all last year, but maybe not. And if they are able to keep them both, then I think they go back to being not only sort of dangerous in real life, but I mean, very valuable in fantasy. Chase just led the league in everything.
Yeah, I love that. Again, it's one of those where you just, when Higgins is healthy, I mean, I'm always overweight on Higgins every year in drafting, and last year he was going like super late, and he was, insane when he played. He's always banged up, but it's one of those things where, if they're on the board at ADP, you want to draft him because it just you don't want to overthink it. Chase is going in number one, top three, that type of thing. So I think you kind of lock those guys in. And then from a NFL perspective, I mean, they make them super dangerous. Now their defense is terrible, which is, hey, go get Trey Hendrickson, make their defense even worse. That's a little addition by subtraction there for that. But keep them out of the playoffs. But I like that they're going to push the Ravens to have to score, push the Steelers to have to score. So I love Higgins. I love Chase. Kind of can't miss guys other than the injuries.
Adam, you told me. Yes, in confidence, but I'm about to say it. You're really not ready to talk about rookies yet. You've got your family, your job, the baseball thing. Anything you'd like to know? You have one question for us about rookies.
Oh, wow. Well, I was going to say, at least we don't have to talk about this year, but Ashton Jeanty to the Bills? Is that what I'm hearing?
Is that what you're hearing? We got to figure that. We got to talk about that if that's what you're hearing. Chicago it's going to be top 12, I think, for Jeanty. That's my guess. So you have the Bears, Dallas is in there. Dallas is at 12, and even Vegas possibly, which I think any of those is great.
Yes.
Is great for Jeanty.
Awesome.
And also Denver, who picks later. I think Denver would be great. And really, then it's a matter of, is the coach of that team going to want to use him a lot? And that doesn't always happen. Even Bijan Robinson did not get tons of work as a rookie. So that's what we're rooting for there. It'd be nice to have a normal, great running back prospect get drafted in the first round and actually play and do well. Barkley's the last one.
Yeah, and not get hurt. I mean, Breece Hall, I think, had a really good rookie year, but he got hurt. Yeah, you said there was an ML. Just keep him away from Arthur Smith. Keep him away from Pittsburgh because Bijan Robinson, that was a disaster. But yeah, anywhere where these guys can get, and because that's key, right? Touches in fantasy. I mean, look at the Chargers now, right? They got running backs there now. They got Najee. It's like, man, if he's going to get 300 touches, he's not very good, but. It's all about opportunity in fantasy, and you get a guy like Jeanty with all the opportunity, he can smash.
Adam, great to talk to you again. Thank you for filling in here last minute.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much.
All right, man. Have yourself a good weekend. Brandon Beane is speaking as we're going through this segment of the show, and it's just been learned that one of their free agent signings, defensive tackle Larry Ogunjobi, there was some delay in him signing, and Beane says that is because they learned after signing him, after agreeing to the deal with him, that he had a PED suspension that will cause him to miss the first 6 games of the season.
And Michael Hoyt.
I didn't see the Michael Hoyt thing.
Beane said the Bills knew about that one, but he also will miss 6 games.
Whoa, wow. Was that the face I was getting while we were talking to Adam? I didn't see the Hoyt thing. I saw the face and I started scrolling, but I did not know about Hoyt. Holy cow.
Wow. 2 free agent signees by the Bills this week will miss 6 games of the season for violations of the drug policy. They knew about Hoyt when they signed him. They did not know about Ogunjobi when they signed him. We'll think about that and talk some more. 803-0550, Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. This is WGR.
We know you can't hear every moment of Sabres Live, but you
Buffalo Bills general manager Brandon Beane currently speaking with the media to talk some of the new signings for the Bills, but some bad news immediately. Both defensive tackle Larry Ogunjobi and defensive lineman Michael Hoyt will miss the first 6 games next year due to PED suspensions. Beane confirmed that with the media. Again, he is still speaking. We'll hopefully get more on that as the day goes on. Around the rest of the NFL, multiple reports do have the Cincinnati Bengals making significant progress in their attempts to sign both wide receivers T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. The Sabres were on the ice today for practice. J.J. Peterka missed again with what is being described as a lower body injury. He will not play tomorrow against Las Vegas, but is trending in the right direction and will go on the team's road trip starting next week. While Josh Norris also missed today, and head coach Lindy Ruff said he is being evaluated by the team's medical staff for an undisclosed injury that he had previously been dealing with. And then in college hoops, a bad day locally. UB women fall to Toledo 56-49 in the semifinal of the MAC tournament, while St. Bonaventure, their season ends in a 76-59 loss to VCU in the A10 quarterfinals. At your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines, Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of business. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Pretty stunning Bills news today. Did you happen to watch the clip of Sammy and Joe on their show today watching the Beane game?
See if they had a bet on Beane to be the first to get to 10 points. Is that what it was? I did not. I saw the tweet. I didn't watch the clip.
It's like 2 minutes. I think Joe might have. Was it Virginia Tech? Did they played?
VCU.
One of the Virginias. Basically, he's doing play-by-play for about 2 minutes, and the score is 9-8 VCU, and Beane has possession. I think maybe Joe had VCU. First to 10. Is there no? Can you do first to 11? Can you do first to anything?
Right.
First to 10. Because Sam did say like their first to 15 was a thing. Maybe I don't know. I'm not that far in.
Right.
Thank goodness.
Right.
Anyway, so they had Beane. He had Beane, maybe Joe had VCU, first to 10, something to do live on the air, right? For who knows how much. And Beane had a possession, down 9-8. Here we go, score, and I got it. Around the rim and out. I didn't watch the game. I'm just telling you what Sam said, how he described it. Around the rim and out. Here comes VCU up the court. They miss. Offensive rebound. They miss again. Here comes Beane. 2-on-1. Layup. Nope.
Wow.
And then VCU scores to get to 11. And one of the producers of the show just goes, "This is March," which is exactly right. This is March, all right.
This is March, and this is the bet sweats. This is what this is. This is the bet sweats.
I don't know where I want to come down. A part of me thinks, all right, guys, let's go touch some grass,
Right.
Let's take a walk, do something else with our lives, but I also love it.
Yeah.
Just sort of, it's funny. It's not funny to lose, but, assuming it's under control and to watch. I usually don't get into the ones, like some of the betting accounts will tweet big wins.
Mm-hmm.
Like video of a big win. Like, all right, that's cool. And guys are just like the camera's all shaking and everybody's jumping on each other. But it's the ones like this that are, I get into those. Just funny. Beane lost. They not only didn't get to 10 first, more importantly, some would say, they lost the game.
Right.
So, if you missed it, 2 defensive players the Bills signed this week, Michael Hoyt and Larry Ogunjobi, will both have to serve 6-game drug suspensions to start the season. Brandon Beane, speaking now, said that they knew Hoyt had that coming, but not Ogunjobi. And maybe they wouldn't have signed him.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. I'm reading a quote here from Elena Getzenberg, I believe covers the team for ESPN, and said, yeah, they knew about Hoyt, and if they had known about Ogunjobi, she says, Beane just said, in advance of agreeing to terms, they would not have gone with 2 players facing 6-game suspensions. But at that point, the market had thinned out. By the time they learned about the suspension, they didn't really have a pivot that they found suitable and just decided to live with it, I guess. So, man, that's a bad look. ultimately. I mean, that's a third of the season, for God's sakes. Two guys that, to various degrees. I mean, Ogunjobi, I would say less than Hoyt. I mean, we'll see how everybody ends up being used here. But, Ogunjobi's more of a rotational piece to me. I say that Hoyt's going to play 80% of the snaps or something, but I just feel like he's the longer-term investment and the more exciting idea to me by a lot, watching just the cut-ups of him lining up all over the field and just being deployed in different ways. Sort of excited about him being here to see what they can do with him and what it'll mean to their defense and all that. And holy cow! I mean, we're going to be knocking on the door of Halloween before these guys get out on the field. Yeah, that's tough. That's a bit of an exaggeration, but whatever. It's going to be mid-October. It's going to be close.
Yep.
That's brutal news. I've never thought to talk to a manager in any sport, about that kind of thing. Like, obviously they liked this player Hoyt enough to go through with it in spite of knowing he was going to miss the first 6 games of the season. So it tells you what they think of him. Also tells you in a certain way what they think of Ogunjobi, that they would have backed out of it if they could, but they didn't have a better idea. So they only like him enough that by the time the market got picked over, they didn't have a place to turn. It sounds like they would have if they had a better idea, which is tough for Ogunjobi. I mean,
that's how it goes.
But that's the world. Wow, that's brutal news.
Yeah. In a positive light, we talked about Bosa for this.
They'll be fresh.
Save them.
Right.
Is this going to mean the Bills start 2-4 because they don't have, a guy or two that maybe very few people had heard of? Ogunjobi has been. I knew more about him, but still, like, how impactful enough to do it. We'll see. But yeah, who would have guessed? It's interesting, for Beane to know that there was a suspension coming for him. Maybe that's why he spoke on Friday. Like everybody else, the players were all speaking yesterday. We were in contact with Sal, and I don't know, that's
sort of a holding pattern, waiting to see if Beane was going to walk out at some point and talk to everyone.
Yeah, Sal thought maybe Beane would speak yesterday, and maybe there are other reasons why it was today instead. But they like to give you, corporations like to give you bad news on Friday. See if you miss it. 70 out.
Oh, yeah.
Let's brace for more bad news, maybe.
Yeah.
Friday afternoon with 70 degrees.
I'm sorry to say I couldn't miss this. Wow.
Yep. All right. So.
Well, I wonder, what does that do to your roster construction and your rotations and all the stuff? I mean, obviously, again, they knew about Hoyt, so that doesn't land on them like a ton of bricks or anything. They made the choice to bring this player in here knowing they wouldn't have him, so you were already going about your plans with that in mind. That knowledge was in hand. Ogunjobi's a little bit different. They still do decide to proceed with the player, though, like for the reasons I already said. That nobody better left out there because the market had been picked over by then. But, Jordan Phillips, you want to hang out for the first 6 games of the season? Like, are they going to just bring somebody in to fill those? Yes is the answer. There'll be people on the roster taking those spots while those guys are suspended. But do you go get guys just to fill in for that? Or are those practice squad guys? Or what are we doing here? It's just I don't want to say unprecedented. It's possible, maybe even likely, that some team, maybe many teams over the years have signed free agents only to find out that they're going to get suspended after they're signed. What I've never heard of is a team admitting they knew a guy was going to be suspended and signed him anyways.
It's probably happened.
It probably has. Again, I don't have that all filed away here. I'm sorry. I try to keep track of stuff, but it's not. It's a very odd section of the book here that we're in. Like guys that were signed to free agent contracts knowing they were going to be suspended. It's not a Jeopardy category that I would choose.
It wouldn't be your category on the floor.
No, but it's a weird choice to make. Period.
Well,
on either guy.
Yeah, I'm sure it's happened. And I guess I just don't hate that the Bills did it or anything, right? Like, you run the calculus. We like the player, 6 games, not good. I guess you'd want to hear an explanation, assume they would get one from the player. Maybe it's a good one. I don't know if it ever is, if it can be that good. What did it mean to the player's performance? All of that. Well, they weren't scared off.
Right.
Because it's both things. It's the 6 games, but it's also the choice in the first place, and sort of what maybe that says. Because I hear about a drug suspension, I feel like somebody might be desperate. You know, like, I got to do this to keep going. That might not be the case with Hoyt. And just making the point about Beane speaking on a Friday, Hoyt is speaking now. I didn't think about that. He didn't go yesterday, so he's going now. I'm reading. We'll see what else comes up. 803-0550 for your calls. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR. Two signings this week: Michael Hoyt from the Rams, Larry Ogunjobi from the Steelers, both facing 6-game performance-enhancing drug policy violations. Brandon Beane speaking just now at the stadium said they knew on Hoyt and didn't on Ogunjobi. I'd be curious to know how Brandon Beane, in this case, finds out in each case. Is it a league? Does the league send an email to everybody or just to the team? What is it? Does the agent? Who's responsible for disseminating the information? Would be interesting to know. I don't think there's anything suspicious about that here. I don't know that answer.
Right, yeah, I don't either. It reminds me of what I asked Kevin Adams earlier in the week about the Norris trade. How liberally is medical information about guys you're trying to acquire shared? And the answer was quite liberally. Once you get to a certain point, it's like, okay, we really want to do this. Well, then we got to let our doctors see what your doctors have seen, and there you go. In this case, yeah, I don't know. Is there an office you can call in the league? Whatever department handles discipline as you're contemplating signing guys. Hey, is there anything in the pipeline on this guy or this guy? Because we're thinking about signing him. I don't know how that works. It sounds to me from just running through a lot of the quotes I've seen posted on Twitter that Beane, the Bills didn't know about Ogunjobi because Ogunjobi didn't know about Ogunjobi until sometime this week, after he'd signed. Then that's when the player found out, and then the Bills found out. So that might tell you that the player or the agent or someone is the first person contacted.
I wonder if what the exact timing on that would be, because the legal tampering. But unless I'm naive here, nothing is signed until Wednesday,
right?
And it's only Friday. So when did he find out? Wednesday after signing the paper. Well, not necessarily.
No, that's why there's been a delay in him signing because of this, is what I think Beane has said. So,
but they're not going to get out of it.
But they agreed and decided to hold themselves and he to the agreement, I guess, is the way I
wonder if that was debated.
Yeah.
Right? Well, this season is not going to be determined by how they do through week 6, right? They're going to have to hold on to hope, and I think it's pretty reasonable that they'll be good anyway and have these guys for the bulk of the season, just not for the first 6 games. Wonder if you might think about the schedule differently. Front load because of Larry Ogunjobi and Michael Hoyt, but just bear with me. Front load the schedule. Right. Let's get Carolina in here week 1. Get some of these division games in early. The easy ones, right? Bulldog, the easy ones. Oh, Carolina's a road game this year, by the way.
Oh, okay. Well,
still.
Fine.
What's the line? Bills at Carolina week 1. What's the line?
Bills minus 6.5.
I was going to say 5. 4.5, 5.
You couldn't be more wrong.
Send us your guesses on X platform. At Schopp Talk, at Bulldog WGR. What will the line be? Bills at Panthers this season. It's out there, right? All the lines are out there on one of those sites. They'll have them all. We will get you and listen together to Brandon Beane's comments, including this kind of bombshell about the 2 suspended players, after the update. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog WGR.
Call or text WGR at 550 and WGR550. Chevrolet Sports Update.
Buffalo Bills general manager Brandon Beane wrapped up speaking with the media just about 15 minutes ago and did break some news as two of the Bills' newest signings, defensive tackle Larry Ogunjobi and defensive lineman Michael Hoyt, will both miss the first 6 games next year due to PED suspensions. Do stay tuned. We will hear back Beane's comments with the media today. Around the NFL, multiple reports have the Cincinnati Bengals making significant progress in their attempts to sign both wide receivers T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. And edge rusher Dante Fowler Jr. is signing with the Cowboys on a 1-year deal worth up to $8 million. To the Sabres, they were on the ice for practice today. J.J. Peterka missed again with what is being described as a lower body injury. He's not going to play tomorrow against Las Vegas, but it is appearing to trend in the right direction. We'll be going on the road trip with the team next week. While Josh Norris missed today, head coach Lenny Ruff said he is being evaluated by team medical staff for an undisclosed injury that he has been dealing with this year. And then in local college basketball, a tough day. UB women fall to Toledo 56-49 in the semifinal of the MAC tournament, while St. Bonaventure, their season ends 76-59 loss to VCU in the A10 quarterfinals. It's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of business. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Bulldog.
And don't even talk to me about weed.
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
Welcome back. Happy Friday. Bills GM Brandon Beane speaking with the media about half an hour ago or a little more. We wanted to play this for you. We haven't heard it yet ourselves, but the reason we want to especially is because he announced 6-game PED violation suspensions to 2 of the new free agents, linebacker Michael Hoyt and defensive tackle Larry Ogunjobi. So let's hear how it all played out.
Just not just the guys you brought in, but the guys that you retained. Starting with just what you did with Josh, I guess.
Yeah. Josh and I had a brief conversation after the season ended, and we always talk anyway. We keep an open dialogue, but yeah, he always stops by before he leaves town, and so we talked about it, and we both said let's see if we can do something. I know the way the market had shifted since he did his deal. He played 4 seasons on that, and the quarterback contracts are always quite unique, and it's the one market where, for whatever reason, whoever's next up sometimes just goes to number 1 or number 2. It's not the way I would choose to do it, but that's the way some people choose to do it. And so I think Josh fell to like 13th or 14th, and just felt like even if he didn't win the MVP, it was a conversation I wanted to have with him, this offseason. And so we did that, and then he spoke to his Patrick Collins, his rep, and I've been talking to Terry, Mr. Pagula, for a while on this, and so we talked about some things, some structure ideas. So we kind of had an idea of what we could do, and they still take time. These are complex contracts in a lot of ways, but we wanted to treat him fairly, and he's obviously done a lot for the team, the city, the organization, and appreciate their work to get it done. And we were very excited on our end to have him secured, add 2 years, and he's a Bill at this point at least through 2030, which is good for everybody.
Joey Bosa talked yesterday. It seemed like you guys were pretty aggressively pursuing him. Was he somebody that you guys, as soon as he became available, zeroed in on? And how concerned are you about the last 3 years he talked about and the injuries and everything like that?
Yeah, Matt. Joey's a heck of a player. We've seen that up close and in person. He about put Josh in a pretzel here one year. I was like, sweaty palms watching Josh get up. And, that infamous game out in L.A., I think he only had 1 sack, but he was all over Peterman. And I yelled at him for damaging his career. It started there. But in all, you've always, the Bosas, them. I scouted those guys in college, elite talents. And yes, he has, to your question, Matt, he has had some injuries. Most of them, if you watch him play, you see why. He plays the game violent. He plays it reckless, without care for his body, which you love, but sometimes, we've seen it here with Milano a little bit too. He plays that wrecking ball style. I think Joey does it. But he knows how to rush. He hasn't lost that. He played 14 games last year, 41% of the play time. So he can help us. We need to have him help us through the year. And then also, if hopefully we can qualify for the playoffs and have him fresh, ready to help us down the stretch. I think if he had never really had any medical issues or any setbacks, his market would be in a lot different place than where we were able to land with him.
You have a plan then, or are you still kind of working through that with how to keep him healthy and make sure that he's at his best at the end of the year?
Yeah, we have a plan with every player, not just guys who have been injured. We have a plan. We have our performance guys do a really good job. Joe Collins, Nate Bresky, and now Will Greenberg's our head strength coach. But we put an individualized plan for each of these guys. Again, if he came here and never missed a game, we still bring him in, talk to him about things. There's guys that haven't missed games, but they're dealing with stuff, and you want to ask guys like that, do you practice every day? Do you need a vet day? What do you do on Mondays? Do you lift after Mondays, or do you wait till Tuesday? All those things. So we will definitely have a plan, in this case, for Joey, and, from your spring to getting through training camp to the first part of the season to the latter part of the season.
Might be ballparking a little bit, but where are you at in space, and how active do you see the team being going forward right now?
Yeah, I don't have an actual number for you. We're still working through some things, but we're running tight with knowing you have to save money for the draft picks, and I think I've talked to you guys about it before. Even if you're under on this top 51, we've had to do moves in the past at the 53 cut when you have to, include everyone, practice squad, whoever's going on the IR, injury replacement cost, all that. So we're getting thin. We've changed stores that we're shopping in.
Your goal in free agency is to have every hole filled as much as possible going into the draft. Number 2 corner right now with Rasul still being unsigned, I don't know that you could say is filled. What's the plan there, as much as you can share, I guess? Yeah,
I would say 2 things. One, we got a month and a half till the draft, so we'll continue to look. Number 2, Jay, probably what I said last year when we traded Steph in early April, we don't play until September, so give us time to work through it. Things change. People pay using that position. Somebody may have paid a corner that makes another one expendable at some point. So we will continue to monitor not only that position but other positions. Right now, it's about building competition and depth across the roster before we get to the draft, and then once you get there, and then when you get done with the draft, you kind of see how that fell. What did you land? Now, what are your holes? And again, post-draft, some people may get heavy and say, you know what, I can release a guy now or June 1st, spread his cap out. So we'll continue to roster build. It never, in a perfect world, you would always love to stand up here and say, we can go play games right now. I'm not, professing that, but we'll continue to work at it. And again, I don't think that's the only spot we got to continue to get better at.
Hoyt and Ogunjobi, could you speak to the priority of the defensive front, and then just comment on what Hoyt and Ogunjobi bring to the table?
Yeah, both of those guys. So Hoyt is a guy that was a year ago was a restricted free agent. He got the second round tender. He was a guy we were tracking to see what the Rams did. Really thought he was our type of player and knows how to rush. can play multiple spots, versatile, motor, just understands the game. And Ogunjobi's a guy, I knew him he's from North Carolina. I didn't know him personally, but knew him through, when I was with the Panthers, he was playing at Charlotte, and he actually went to Ragsdale High where my cousin taught and went. So he's a guy I knew who he was in high school, just to be as good as he was there. So guy we've tracked, we've actually followed him before, but either couldn't financially make it work or whatever. And I think he's a guy that, we look at as can provide some interior depth rush. Pittsburgh was using him a little bit different than Cincinnati did. I think he had a 7-sack season. Not as many sacks the last few years in Pittsburgh's D, what he was asked to do. Maybe a little more two-gapping than penetrating. And while I'm on those guys, there's a couple things. Part of the delay, I'll start with Larry. Part of the delay with Larry was he received, around this time after we agreed, he got a notice that a PED, pending suspension. So he came into my office yesterday. We did not know it when we agreed the other night. So had a conversation, and I give him credit because it's early in the process. The league doesn't even know about it the way that it's done by an independent group. But he was very forthright. Larry's he was Pittsburgh's man of the year. Like, he's a good man. He's played 8 years in the league and never had a blip. And so, that's obviously frustrating for him and a little bit of a setback for us. And so, but we've talked it through. We're in a good spot, but that's part of the delay. We did get him here yesterday, and there's some contractual things that we've had to work through. And so he hasn't officially signed yet, but he should be signing shortly. But again, so he will be out the first 6 games. And the second curveball here is Hoyt we knew about. So we were aware of his, and I would not have done 2 guys, but we did a 3-year deal with Hoyt knowing his situation, same thing, he's been in the league 5 years. I think his was earlier. We were made aware of it. There's a thing we can get with the league that we can find out his status we knew, and we talked it through with his agents. So, so it's not ideal to have 2 guys with that. But both guys have never had any issues off the field. And, it's a tough lesson of where do you get your supplements or whatever happened. And I think Larry you guys can ask him, I think he's planning to talk to the media. Mike will be up next because he has signed. My understanding from Mike thinks, he knows what happened, but where, and then Larry does not know, still looking into it, but wanted to just expedite it and be done and could have drug it out. So we're going to have to, and we've talked about this since we got that news yesterday, we're going to have to kind of treat this as if we know now that a couple of guys are, injured in camp, and you're going to, you put them on IR to start. So the way that would work, those guys will be out the 6 games. They have to be out of the building 4, and then they can come back for 2 and begin play week 7. So they'll be with us in the off-season program, the training camp, and then when you make the 53 cut. So again, we'll be okay. It's just kind of planned for one. The other one, he literally got the letter, Larry did this week. Honestly, did not have to tell us because the league, when I called them, they were unaware of it, and it all added up to when they get these tests, there's more than one sample. There's one sample, and then like 3 weeks later is the next sample. Until both have been tested, the league is not made aware of it. And so, but again, we'll embrace those guys. And if they were guys that this had happened before, we probably would have avoided them. But, again, Larry's been in the league, man of the year, 8 years. And sometimes, whatever. And, again, he doesn't – you can ask him, but my understanding is he is not knowing, what exactly occurred. And so we'll see.
Those guys who are placed on the suspended list?
So once they are today, no. Once you sign them, but when they go on, it does come off, and some happens in reconciliation after the season, but a little bit, yes.
I know you talked about it some, but after agreeing to terms with Larry and then finding out, and now knowing you have two of those, why still
stay with it? Yeah. You guys know how this works. You guys have seen this before where, you get frustrated, like somebody agrees and then 2 days pass and then they change their mind or whatever. Well, guess what? Everyone else has already agreed and signed. So the pool has been thinned out. And so by the time we learn this, and what are your options? To either stay with the player, or a lot of other players have agreed to terms. Maybe we would have, we definitely wouldn't have gone into this with two guys facing this. But at this point, choosing Larry's position, since we agree with him, there's a lot of other D tackles off the market. And so that's why we, and again, he was straight up with, as soon as he walked in my office yesterday, just to talk, and I respect that about him.
Palmer, what do you like about him?
Josh is, love Josh's game. I would say the first thing, Mark, excellent route runner. Really, he does not give indicators. A lot of guys give indicators whether they're about to stop, break, sets guys up. I thought he had, if you watch his film last year, I thought there were a couple touchdowns that got missed that he double moved. And, on the card, he's around 4.5, but I'd say his play speed's faster. Build to speed when he's up and running. He can play inside. He can play out. He's a smart player. We look for that in this offense so that Joe can move these guys around. So, he's a guy that we don't really get into the X and Z. We'll put them all over. And, again, if he wants to play inside, play out. But good player. Really was a guy that has been on some rosters with some good receivers. He talked to me about, I was asking him where he learned his releases and some of his stuff, and Keenan Allen was the guy he kept referencing that, and that's a pretty good one to learn from. He's 25 years old. Still think I don't think he's hit his ceiling, Mark. I think he can still play. So, you never know how free agency is going to turn, but excited to add him to the group.
Where do you think Christian Beckford?
Yeah, I don't. We've been able to get some done, Joe, and at the end of the day, we love Christian. I don't really get into negotiations or anything like that, but love Christian and excited he'll be back this season, and we'll see if it works out now, later down the road, to keep him here. Which again, by what I've always said, we want to draft, develop, and re-sign our own, and so excited that he'll be here this year, especially knowing, as Jay referenced, we're thin at the position right now.
Larry found out yesterday about the suspension?
I don't know specifically, but it was this week, and you'd have to ask him specifically what it was. But yeah, he told me as soon as he walked in, so I'm assuming he learned the day before or something. He just got the notification, and again, I think the B sample hasn't even come back yet.
Vaughn, is that door still open? Where
Yeah, tough deal. Love Vaughn. Really appreciate what he brought here. We all know his year one really started off with a bang. Made some clutch sacks for us to help close some games. had the injury. Year 2, not what he had hoped for, and I thought last year really came back and did some good things. We just decided where the salary was, to try and see if we could step back, look at the field, see what else was out there. But we did not. I had a very good conversation with him the other day before we released him, and would never close the door on bringing him back, whether it's now, whether it's later in the spring or in season. He really, beyond his skill set on the field, he brought a championship mentality to our team, to the guys, and if he's not back, he'd be missed in that standpoint for sure.
What was it like a year after you parted ways with so many veterans and leaders and made trades and you get under the salary cap? What was it like finally being able to build long term, looking ahead to the future beyond this season with some of the guys that you had?
Yeah, John, first off, it was exciting, to get a lot of these guys done that we can, some of our young players that we drafted before we hit free agency, to get, obviously Josh, but Rousseau, Terrell Bernard, all these guys that we could, Shakir, I think we got Shakir done first. All these guys that are kind of homegrown, you love. That's the perfect way to do it. But we know, for whatever reasons, as guys leave or certain things don't work out, you got to fill in different pockets with free agency, or trades. And so last year helped us, I wouldn't say reset, but helped us be able to do some of the things, knowing from a planning standpoint, you have to start looking what is down the road and who's coming up, and to make sure, if we had not done some of those things last year, would have made it very difficult to definitely keep at least the ones we've kept so far. And so that was definitely a conversation a year ago when we made those tough decisions of some of these guys. Hey, if they keep trending in the right direction, we'd like to have the capital to be able to, re-sign them. Again, it takes two, and I commend all these guys for really wanting to be here in Buffalo. I know you guys have talked to them all, but all those guys I loved it. They just really telling their agents, hey, I'd love to be here. Let's see if we can get something done, and put our heads together and found terms that we were all comfortable with.
Really fit in well here last year. It was only a year here. Was that just a matter of not being on the same page monetarily? Or?
Yeah, we love Mac and appreciate what he did, and definitely had a lot of conversations. I'd say you'd have to ask Mac, for sure, but we were definitely interested in bringing him back.
What led to finally moving on to Kyer?
Yeah, that's a tough one, John. It really is. I'm going to get emotional because I love Kyer, and it didn't work, and it stinks, and it's not, it's not for a lack of effort, on any side here, and the guy worked so hard. He had some bad breaks. Like anything, there's probably things he was like, man, if I'd made this play or that play, maybe that, this game is about confidence, and especially that is a hard position. And Kyer had some good moments here. He really did, whether some of the interceptions, thought he had some good training camps. But in the end, he and I had a conversation after the season about where he was going into his last year. And, like anything, he knows the expectations, and he's a competitor. It was hurting him to not play, and whether it was to be a healthy scratch or to suit up but not really get in the game. And ultimately, it's on me. I made the selection that didn't work out, and I own that, and that's you don't want those to happen. But man, I'm rooting for Kyer. I really am. I hope in the conversations I had with teams, I really told them, like, you would be getting a great young man. And, the guy worked so hard. And I think I'm confident, maybe a reset for him. Give him a chance. I'm pulling for him. I think everyone at One Bills Drive hopes it works out for him.
What's your outlook at Hunter? You have Jake on the roster. Sam signed a contract elsewhere.
With respect to what's your...
You see the team attacking that position this offseason. You only have one on the roster. Typically, the team has had more than that going into a season with an unproven player like Camarda. How do you expect to attack that position this offseason?
Okay. We'll look. We'll bring in competition for Jake. We like Jake coming out a lot, and he really. I thought he had some good first couple of years last year. Didn't go as well for him, but the same as corner. We'll continue to monitor that, who's out there. I wouldn't see us putting a big price tag, whether it's a veteran or in the draft. You guys good? Laviska. Yeah, good question. Wide receiver, kick returner would kind of be his. He's been dynamic with the ball in his hands. I know he was a former second round pick. We had some love for him when he came out. I think that was the COVID draft. He's had the same thing, some ups and downs in his career. Moved to a few different teams. The kickoff is the league is really pushing hard with the rule change. We have the owners' meetings in a couple of weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if there's more changes made to up the percentage of kickoffs, and so we do want to have some options back there. So he would be back there for that. Also, however Joe would want to use him, receiver. He's a guy you want to get the ball in his hands in various ways. He's good with it, which most kick returners kind of are that way, but. Very dynamic, and he can hit a home run.
Brandon Beane, last hour, the big news, the 6-game PED violation suspensions to new Bills Michael Hoyt and Larry Ogunjobi. We will discuss that some more, including with Brian Koziol, who will join us next. Catch up on the Players' Championship as well with Brian. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR.
We know you can.
Buffalo Bills general manager Brandon Beane wrapped up speaking with the media today just about an hour ago, and the big news from today is that two of the newest signings for the Bills are set to miss 6 games with PED suspensions: defensive tackle Larry Ogunjobi and defensive lineman Michael Hoyt. If you did miss Beane's comments, you can find those on the Odyssey app or on our website, WGR550.com. The Sabres did have practice today. J.J. Peterka, though, missed again with what is being described as a lower body injury. He's not going to play tomorrow against Las Vegas, but is trending in the right direction. He is going to go on the road trip that starts next week. While Josh Norris, he also missed today. Head coach Lindy Ruff said he's being evaluated by team medical staff for an undisclosed injury that he has been dealing with. In college hoops, it was a tough day locally. UB women, they fall to Toledo 56-49 in the semifinal of the MAC tournament. And then St. Bonaventure, their season ends in the A-10 quarterfinals following their 76-59 loss to VCU. And then in the Players' Championship over at TBC Sawgrass, Akshay Bhatia and Minwoo Lee are tied for the lead at 11 under par. For more on the players, tune in to Tee to Green right here on WGR tomorrow morning from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. as they'll be live from the Western New York PGA headquarters. But do stay tuned, as coming up next, we'll get more on the players today as Brian Koziel, the host of Tee to Green, joins the show next. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of business. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's not hard enough. Look like
Thomas, probably the story of the day at the Players' Championship today, still on the course, 9 under through 15. But he shot 6 over yesterday. So he's not like
he's only 3
ahead
under,
or anything.
Which is 8 shots off the lead.
Right, but quite a story. Not a great story, but quite a story. The Bills thing today, 2 players signed this week going to miss the first 6 games of the season. We heard Brandon Beane disclose the news earlier. We'll talk plenty more about that through the remainder of the day here. And we welcome Brian Koziel to the show on the Wester Hotline tomorrow, back on the air with Tee to Green, and then also a Sabres game early Saturday. Jack Eichel and the Golden Knights, 12:30. So, Brian, you'll be busy.
Yep, doubleheader tomorrow. Looking forward to it. And I think anytime Eichel's in the building, there's always a little extra buzz. The first year, it's Tuck and Krebs both scored. I think Tuck had the empty net. Remember, he stole it from Eichel.
Yep.
And we're like, both parts of that trade, they end up coming through. And Eichel had a tough game. And then, of course, the second game, he got the hat trick. So
I was at both of those games, and I'm excited to not be at tomorrow's. I had enough of the Eichel thing last year. The first year was really fun. He was such a baby in the press conference after that game.
Yeah.
But then last year it was all his night, and just surrounded by people near the glass that were just swearing at him the whole game. It was not fun.
I feel like that more people have soured more on the Sabres than they have of Eichel here as time passes on. Like, I don't now. You could still maybe have the same dislike for Eichel, but I just feel like people are just like, why did we mess that up, kind of thing. And I guess you could add that to Reinhart and O'Reilly and other, the long list that we always list here. But I think
Montour and Allmark, if you want. I mean, not that Allmark's won a cup, but
only a Vezina.
There's a list. Yeah.
And I think I'd probably put myself in that boat too. Initially, part of it too is like I'm hearing his, I'm always hearing his post-game interviews after losses, and I'm always hearing not like, well, you want players to own up to their own thing. Like, look, you were handed the bank when you came here. You were handed the sea. Like, you were supposed to be the guy that saved the franchise, kind of thing. They obviously spent 2 years tanking to get McDavid. I ultimately knowing that they could get Eichel. And it just, for whatever reason, it didn't ever feel like it perfectly meshed. And when Eichel used the medical thing to maybe essentially say, I want out of here, like, it just, that definitely soured. But I think as we've gone on, because now it is easy, Bulldog, to make a long list of, hey, they messed up that situation that turned out to be a very, very skilled player. I'm more likely to just lump Eichel in with the rest of them and maybe not individually think like, oh, he has to be booed every time he has to touch the puck now.
Yeah, I hear that. And we'll see about Cousins. We talked a little bit about this yesterday, and I know it's only been a week since the trade was made, but I sat down last night to watch Toronto-Boston on the TSN feed. I'll always watch. I'll always defer to Toronto-Florida. I said that twice yesterday, too. I don't know why I had Toronto-Boston in my head. Thank you. Toronto-Florida, big, one of the biggest games of the night. The TSN feed, first intermission. Marty Baron's a part of the panel. He was sitting in for Jeff O'Neill, and one of the questions posed to the panel was, aside from Dylan Cousins, who's had the biggest impact that was traded at the deadline? And I'm just like, already? Like, we're already here? Like, come on. So we'll see. I don't think they're going to win the cup this year or anything, but still, it just was put it on the pile, right? It was that kind of feeling. So
for sure.
And now today, Norris is hurt.
Yeah. And Cousins had all the things going for him that was making him very likable, where maybe some of the other guys were not. I mean, gosh, even just from day one of being drafted, his story coming from UConn territory and all that stuff. And, I mean, he's even during his struggles over these last 2 years, I at least found his willingness to be accountable very likable and, essentially rooting for him to snap out of his slump that essentially now turned into 2 seasons, which is understandable as to why maybe he was moved. But, yeah, I mean, we might be adding Cousins to that list of players that we sit here and say, oh, geez, it obviously was the right decision to target him, and whether it was a draft pick or a trade, and why did it mess up here where it's successful elsewhere?
Maybe Marchand is why you're having that mental block, but he's not playing yet anyway.
Or it's just Toronto-Boston's been a big game for most of the last 10 years or so, and Boston's down, so I don't know, I've got it in my head, but anyway.
Brian, so Justin Thomas, 9 under after going 6 over yesterday, and he's still playing. He's on the 16th right now. Is that, for you, as into golf as you are, inexplicable? I doubt it is. Most things are explicable, right? Like for somebody to just have a bad day and then a good day. What probably does it? What probably does it for the player to go from, if it's par 72, I'm not sure, but 78 to this might be 63?
That's a good question. I think probably seeing putts go in, I know that a lot of times pros talk about this so much that their confidence putting is what really then kind of translates over to the rest of the round. I mean, he obviously starts off birdie. Yesterday, I believe he finished his 78 with a birdie finish. So I think that's carried over into today. But I think when you're putting great, like you're standing over, you consider, I feel like I'm going to make everything. But his irons have been excellent too. I mean, he's put himself in position on some of these approach shots. He stayed out of trouble for sure. This course has a ton of water. It has a ton of bunkers, and he's from the back 9 holes that I've watched here this afternoon, he's stayed out of trouble the whole time. So that part's excellent. You mentioned he's playing 16. It's the easiest hole on the back 9, so he's got an opportunity to maybe get to 10 under on his round here and showing up thinking, hey, I got to try to work here to make the cut. Now he's thinking I'm in contention to maybe be back into possibly having a chance to win this tournament with still 2+ rounds to go.
Yeah, his approach on that hole made the green, but it's a long, kind of narrow green, and he's way at the front part of it there. So we'll see what he can manage there. I'm curious about the pin placement on 17, Brian. I'm guessing you've watched this tournament and have talked about this tournament enough to know like where the hard pin placements are and where the favorable ones are. And I've seen a few guys today. Rye, I think, was one guy who hit a shot that looked absolutely perfect, like close enough to the pin, like maybe 5 or 6 feet away and just above it a bit. And it spun back and just went right in the water. It was incredible. Like standing in the tee box, seeing where that shot landed, I would just be like, come on. What am I supposed to do here?
Yeah, it's for those that haven't watched any today, the pin on the island hole is way at the front. So it's playing, it's like, I think high 120s. So, I mean, guys are going to be hitting pitching wedge or less into this green here. And, if you're hitting less, you probably then you're taking more of a full swing. That's where really you can get that backspin where the ball can come off the green. They're obviously so good at doing that. There is, I would say, I don't know if I can guess the length here, maybe about a quarter of an inch or a third of an inch or so of the fringe rough that kind of is raised up. So if the ball is slowly coming down, it does save it. But you're right. If you get really good action on it, it does come right off. And that can happen quite a bit here when this pin is tucked in the front. I mean, ideally, if you're caddying, you're saying hit to the dead center. And if you have some spin back, great. And if you don't, well, worst case, you
we're safe.
Move on.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think the Sunday location on that green is always on the far right where the green just kind of sticks out just a little. You almost can't even see the flag. It looks like it's like in the side of the water. But this one today is made for some good action. I know Kevin Kisner, who's one of the analysts on Golf Channel, was saying today that he thinks he's surprised that he hasn't seen a hole-in-one because he said it's set up for you to hit the safe shot, which is to hit a little bit past the pin in the center of the green, with the ability for the ball to come back down again. So he was thinking that, hey, maybe there still might be a hole-in-one by day's end.
Are they the same or about the same for pin placements every year, Thursday through Sunday?
I think so, yeah. I think that now they might rotate the order, but I think Sunday is always usually in that spot on the right side. So I think probably, too, most of these guys know exactly what's coming ahead of time. When they go to play their practice rounds, their caddies pretty much, they throw down these like little discs on the green to practice, and they say, hey, this is where Thursday's going to be, here's where Friday's going to be, and then they can putt to it and kind of see what kind of break they're going to get around the green. So
they know the whole weekend before the tournament starts?
Pretty much, yes. They're not giving them in advance, they're giving them day by day, but they're pretty much, I guess, word of mouth, they kind of know, like, hey, this is where the 4 are going to be, yes.
Interesting. Do you have a comment on the Bills news? I don't know if you do, if you've been up on it today, so apologies if not. But the Bills signed 2 players this week, Brian, that are headed for 6-game PED suspensions. I'm not sure I remember a situation like that before.
I would say for me, that when hearing about it earlier, that it's surprising because Brandon Beane has done his homework so well with what he describes as the character piece. And I would throw this in that mix, that I'm surprised that whether he knew that it was coming anyway, that he chose to follow through with it. This team has been very also ravaged with injuries to the point where guys have missed 4 games here, 6 games there. Like, you'd think that you wouldn't want to spend a large chunk of your off-season capital knowing that maybe you're only going to get these guys for a third of the season. So it is surprising in that sense to me. But I understand why he's up there today, maybe supporting the decision and all that. It would look, I think, poor on him to say, oh, if I would have only known, that would have looked terrible. That would have made him look worse, too. So I understand why he's saying that, yeah, they're going to go through with it. But I guess surprised, because the Bills, I would credit them as one of the best franchises in terms of knowing what type of player they're getting, how much value you put, that's obviously up to you. But I think Beane values that quite a bit, so I'm kind of surprised by this.
I don't know if you could hear me exhale just now. I don't know if you got your eyes on the golf, but Finau hit his tee shot on 17 into the water, and from the drop area, hit it well past the pin, and it spun back and was roaring towards that edge and just barely stayed above the yellow paint. I mean, it was very close to going in the water a second time there, even though he did what you were talking about, play it safe into the middle. It had so much spin on it that it almost made the water a second time.
No good.
Tough one.
He's going home.
So, tomorrow, what do we got? Where is the headquarters of the Western New York PGA, by the way? I've heard that in the updates all week promoting your show, and I thought, where is that exactly?
So it's in the big clubhouse building at Glen Oak,
okay,
in East Amherst. If anybody's ever wanted to go in there, that's where the headquarters are, and that's actually where the Western New York PGA Hall of Fame is as well. So a lot of golf dignitaries and well-known players that have either contributed to the game or been long-time professionals in Western New York. There's a Western New York PGA Hall of Fame in there. So we're going to be there tomorrow, and we're going to be speaking with Chris Kalinski's his name, a PGA Pro. He actually is in charge of career development. So for anybody that wants to have a job or a career in golf, either full-time or part-time, he's going to tell you how you can do it.
Thanks for this, Brian. Enjoy your weekend.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Tee to green, 7 a.m. tomorrow from that location there, Brian just said.
So early.
At Glen Oak. I'll be up.
When is your game?
We're hoping 8. We'll see. They're not taking tee time, so I don't know what kind of a...
Tee to green, a great lead-in to an actual golf game.
What kind of schmozzle? No, John Gale, we play usually between 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. is my window, usually, once we get into the summer. Because I get so excited, even though I play almost every Saturday, I wake up at 5:30 on a Saturday, and I'll try to go back to sleep, and I'm lying there thinking about, okay, hole 1, I'm going to hit my drive, okay, and then a 3-wood in, if I can make it. If not, I'm going to have to wedge, okay. And I start doing it. It's like, all right, turn the coffee on, I'm up. So I sort of make everyone, come on, we're going to play at 7:16 today. John Gale comes from Canada down to play almost every Saturday with us, and he always has something to say about what he heard from Brian and Kevin and Jeff Meadis and whoever else is on Tee to Green. It's his little pep talk coming down to play golf.
Love it. Loves the station. Welcome back, everybody. We'll be right back after a timeout. I don't know why I said welcome back. Just kind of got weird there. Who was I welcoming back? There's usually a break first.
John Gale.
I'm welcoming John Gale back. He never leaves, but I'm welcoming him back. I don't know. Sorry. Weird. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here at 803-0550. This is WGR. Welcome back. We invite you to join us by phone, 803-0550. We want to talk about
come on down.
Or just,
definitely don't do that.
Whatever other way there would be.
I'm sorry I said that.
To talk about the stunner from Brandon Beane today that two of the players he signed this week are going to miss the first 6 games because of drug policy violations. Michael Hoyt and Larry Ogunjobi. We had Brian scheduled, and then we fit Beane in at 5, then talked to Brian. Haven't yet taken time to react to how Beane did it today. I thought with that news, he might have just led with it. And, he had decided to announce it, and not bring it up. No one saw it coming.
Right.
So he doesn't lead the press conference with, guys, I've got news, it's this. Sort of waits until, in one question, Ogunjobi and Hoyt were brought up together in one question, the impact of these two players. And he's like, well, I got something to tell you. And he went long on it, and, good. I think if he didn't directly say it, I think he was telling us that if the timing had been different, he would not have signed Ogunjobi had he known.
I definitely got that. I think he flat out, well, he didn't flat out say that, but he said the timing, the pool had thinned out. Guys had changed. They didn't have really a spot. He didn't use these words exactly, but they didn't have a place to pivot to by the time they found out about it. And then that was that. So they decided, I think, after talking about whether to keep going with it or, honor it, they decided to move forward with it. But yeah, I think they really, if they'd had a better idea, two guys that they considered relatively equal, maybe they would have just said, you know what? Yeah, no, because we already got one guy that we knew. They chose to sign Hoyt knowing this was coming. And, we can debate how smart that is. It is a third of the first season here for, a new guy to sort of help your defense. So, interesting choice at the very least to proceed anyways, but tells you what they think of the player. Really tells you what they think of both players. Because, again, if you're really paying attention, what he's telling you is we were signing Hoyt no matter what. Well, I don't say no matter what. If he were out a whole year or something, maybe that's a different thing. But same suspension, very different explanation. We knew about Hoyt. We signed him to a 3-year contract anyway. Ogunjobi, we didn't find out until later in the process. We'd agreed with him. He brought it to our attention. He didn't even have to. Beane gave him credit for doing that. But there was nothing that they thought they could do that would be a better idea than that guy, even though he's going to miss 6 games on a 1-year deal.
Right. Mentioned how Ogunjobi has been nominated for the NFL Man of the Year award. Said over and over how much he respected the player, his integrity, and they're going to have to live with this. Could be interesting from a football standpoint because they're going to be on the team, but not available. And I wonder how you work around it. Would Ogunjobi have been a starter? Maybe, yeah. Possibly, at least. Hoyt, maybe you use in different roles, but both significant in their own way. Lines are open for your reaction to it, 803-0550. Do you blame Beane for this at all? I'm not sure I do. I think it's understandable how he stood in there with Ogunjobi and didn't know, or he did know about the Hoyt one and wanted the player anyway. I don't blame him for that. And it's 6 games. So what's going to matter about this team is almost definitely going to happen from, week 7 on, if not from week 17 on. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, back after the update on
This is Chevrolet Sports Update.
Buffalo Bills general manager Brandon Beane spoke with the media today talking about a number of the new signings for the Bills, but some bad news already. Two of them, defensive tackle Larry Ogunjobi and defensive lineman Michael Hoyt, will both miss the first 6 games of next year due to PED suspensions. If you missed that and you want to hear back to Beane with the media, you can find it on the Odyssey app or on our website, WGR550.com. Around the NFL, multiple reports do have the Cincinnati Bengals making quote-unquote significant progress in their attempts to sign both wide receivers T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, while Dallas, they have signed edge rusher Dante Fowler Jr. to a 1-year deal worth up to $8 million. Over to the Sabres. They don't have a game again until tomorrow, but today they were on the ice for practice. J.J. Peterka missed again with what is being described as a lower body injury. He's not going to play tomorrow against Las Vegas, but is trending in the right direction. He will go on the road trip with the team next week, while Josh Norris again missed today. Head coach Lindy Ruff said that he's being evaluated by the team's medical staff for an undisclosed injury that he has been dealing with. In college hoops, tough afternoon for the local teams. UB women fall to Toledo 56-49 in the semifinal of the MAC tournament, and St. Bonaventure, their season ends in the A10 quarterfinals, following a 76-59 loss to VCU. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of business. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Somebody is stocking up for St. Patrick's Day weekend. Not saying who. How about this weather for this weekend? I'm going outside during breaks just to do it. Like the first time about an hour ago during a break, I stepped outside. I'm like, yes. I mean, I knew it was warm, but I was just sort of bracing for that cold wind that pushes at you when you open that last door to get out of the building.
Nope.
Not today.
No sirree.
We got some news we weren't expecting. I don't think anybody was. The Bills have 2 new players headed for 6-game drug violation suspensions. They knew one was coming before signing the player, Michael Hoyt. They did not know the other, and it sounds like, from what Brandon Beane and Larry Ogunjobi said, that it was really like Ogunjobi said it was right around the same time when he signed the deal and then found out. It would be nice to know specifically which was first. But both the player and the team honored the deal. Beane all but said they wouldn't have had they had more notice because they'd already been facing 1 6-game suspension on their defense with Michael Hoyt. And so Beane went into how he respects Ogunjobi and decided that and maybe he felt like they had to, or it was a decision, whichever, they were going to keep going.
Didn't think they had a better alternative out there.
Right.
Either. Like, you know, certainly there are other players at the position available that would not miss the first 6 games, but it tells you they at least value the player and what they expect him to provide for them enough to sacrifice the 6 games and still choose to have him rather than some other replacement they could have found on the market.
Let's take a call or two. We welcome your input. 803-0550 is the number. Ken is next up. Hi, Ken.
Oh, good evening, gentlemen. I just want to make a couple comments here and
go ahead.
Take on it. Well, you know, the 6-game suspension, that's a third of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And Brandon Beane, let's face facts, gentlemen. And everybody on the radio, they back these guys no matter what they do. Now, let me just start by saying, if we didn't have Josh Allen, those guys would have been fired years ago. He has held that team together. And the drafting of Beane and some of the coaching mishaps of McDermott it's unconscionable. And to know that he's always talking about the family and how the guys into drug suspension, both of them, and you want them on your team, I'm sorry, I don't go for that one bit. And thank God for Josh Allen, because those guys would have been fired. I'll tell you that right now. They wouldn't be in the league right now. They have done nothing. As far as DeMar Hamlin, nobody wanted the guy. They bring him back. Are you kidding me? It's just a sad state of affairs. But the three gentlemen, the suspension for 6 games, unconscionable that you would even want them on your team.
I don't have a hard time at all being sort of like getting it. I don't know if unconscionable is about the farthest thing from me. Isn't the first thing he said, I want to hear your opinion? And then he went on to say how he already knows them and they're all the same. We would back the Bills no matter what. I'm not. Would they be out of the league? Really? Like, is that even worth pondering? Would McDermott and Beane have jobs if not for Allen?
If they hadn't identified and developed their franchise quarterback into one of the best players we've ever seen, yeah, they would be out of the league. If they had drafted Josh Rosen, they would have gotten fired.
But they might be somewhere else.
Yeah, okay, fine, whatever. But the point is, like, yes, Josh Allen saves everyone, but they get credit for Josh Allen too. Like, you can't erase that from the board. They made a choice, so you got to bank that on their side of the ledger as well. So,
to a point.
Yeah, I don't know about unconscionable, but it's a choice. You know, it is a choice. To bring, especially Hoyt, with a 6-game suspension looming, like we like you this much, we're gonna commit to that. I wonder how different it would be if it weren't a performance-enhancing drug suspension, and if it were something else. I bet they wouldn't have flown near it.
Like what?
Off the field, character, police.
Oh, okay. I know what you meant.
Recreational drugs. There's always to me been a very different, and it stands to reason that there should be, right? I mean, there's one thing to be running around snorting cocaine and getting suspended for it. That probably isn't helping you perform better. You get a performance-enhancing drug suspension, you were working. Right, you do that to try to be the best you can be, and I'm someone who's relatively always skeptical about the explanations we hear. Do guys know what they're doing and hope that their number doesn't come up in the lottery at that moment when they're in the danger zone of testing dirty for something that they shouldn't be using, and just hope it's a gamble, but maybe I'll get through? Or is it really that something showed up, a supplement had something in it that it wasn't supposed to have, or that I didn't know it had, and all that? I always wonder about that. I don't think those are unfair things to wonder about. I'm not painting anyone with a brush here to say that I know that, but I think it's fair to wonder, because it is competitive. You're trying to be the biggest and the best that you can be, and what kind of risks are involved, and what kind of risks are you willing to take? So I don't know where I end up. I definitely don't end up at unconscionable, but it's a choice, and it's maybe a controversial one.
I just have a tough time. I mean, when somebody is so over there, like they have won so many games, and instead of thinking about or pointing out the many good moves that have made that are not Josh Allen, the guy's pissed because they signed Hamlin for $2 million back. Like, how hard are you trying to say one thing? Just doesn't seem reasonable at all. So it's like you said. I mean, they didn't have to do this with Hoyt. Like Ogunjobi's different. It's a different situation. They didn't have to do it. I'm not upset. The whole thing comes down to the playoffs, and I'm not upset about, like, if you knew a guy was going to miss 6 games, and otherwise, whether this is even true, maybe this is trying too hard for me, like, have no concerns about his character, etc., then okay. The fact that they have 2 of these guys puts them in a little bit of a bind for personnel usage and what they probably thought they were going to be and now what they are actually going to be. But I think by the time the Bills get to games that matter, we're not even going to remember this. Let's hope anyway. Because if that's not true, what happened?
Right, they went 2-4 in their first 6 games without these two dudes.
Because of two guys that we never thought for 5 seconds about before like Wednesday. I mean, just that would be surprising. And probably not because of this. Thanks, Ken. Nick is next. Hello, Nick.
Hey, appreciate you guys having me on.
Sure.
It's hilarious that when the Sabres do something like this, I'm like, immediately, they're such idiots. But the Bills do something, and I'm like, you know what? I'm sure he's got a reason for it. It's just different mentalities based on the results there. But
yeah,
nothing wrong with that.
It's emotional. But with the signings and the suspension, and from Beane's perspective, does he get money back because they're missing 6 games? Because I'm always thinking he's thinking from a financial standpoint. Is there a way, if I bring this guy in, suspended for 6 games, does it only, and he's only on a 1-year deal, obviously the one guy they found out afterwards, do they save money so they have more money for that year to spend, or how does that all work? Because I highly doubt that he signed these guys without weighing everything out, including that. But
yeah,
I'll hang out the whole thing.
I'm reluctant to give you a definitive answer on this. I Googled during the break. I was curious about this too, and it's making the rounds on social. And I don't know. I don't want to take anything as gospel there either. So I put into my search engine: do NFL teams get cap relief from suspended players? And the AI answer I got. So I did not get directed to the NFLPA handbook. All right. No, NFL teams do not receive cap relief when a player is suspended, as the salary still counts against the team's salary cap, though the player does not get paid for the games missed. That is what I got there. As we're getting ready to start this segment, Greg Thompson from Cover One is asked the same question on Twitter, and his response is Hoyt and Ogunjobi's cap charges will be lower. So the difference is, and he has in quotes, available to the team to spend. So maybe because of the way the contract is structured, some part of the cap hit is mitigated. I don't know. I'm not an expert in this. Greg kind of is, from what I understand, but I don't know him personally.
It's still tight.
TBD is what I would tell you, but perhaps there is some relief, but not the entire $8 million that they're giving Ogunjobi to play here.
It's tight anyway, and if you sign somebody with that money and then your guys come back, then what? I don't know if that, you have to do something else at that point.
Right. It's not, obviously, the whole year is not available to you anyways. So, I don't know.
Well, it was interesting to hear it play out at the press conference. Again, I'm not sure it's wrong, but Beane waited for the question to come to him about the 2 players, and he had to know it was coming. Not because anybody knew there was a suspension sitting there, but just he was asked to talk about all the new guys. And he's like, well, now's as good a time as any, right? He's 10 minutes or so into the press conference, 7 to 10 minutes, and then said, well, here's what we're looking at. And he went in on Ogunjobi for quite a while before, and this is happening too over here.
Right.
Just, normally I think it would be one where you just like, before we start, this is what we've got. But then he didn't do it that way. So you're looking up at Thomas. He hit it in the water.
Oh, he did? I'm sorry. I did not know that. I just saw him put a ball like 3 feet from the pin here.
That'll be for par.
That'll be for par.
Is that a par 5, 18?
No.
That'll be for both?
I don't believe it is. I think the 17's the par 3, 16's a par 5. I think 18 is a par 4.
Okay, that'll be for a 5.
Okay.
Hit his drive into the right rough, hit the second shot, just sort of scurried it along the fairway, and it just fell into the water at the last second. And then the drop.
After we talked about, was this on the air or was this off the air? His odds? Okay. I looked after he made the birdie on 16. I looked, and he was plus 6,000 to win the tournament. Still, like, 7 back, 6, whatever he was.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. He makes a birdie on 17. You were out of the room. We were in a break. I'm like, all right, I got to go see. Plus 4,500. So I don't know if he's going to go back to 6,000 given a stroke back here. But anyway.
Maybe
fire's out.
He's not that near the top, but he's going to tie the course record probably at 62.
Yeah.
He could have had better, but for that one shot. So that's tough. You're excited to play tomorrow. You got new ball markers and maybe some new shirts or shoes. I don't know.
No. I've got There's no new. No, I got a bunch of new clothes. I went on a bit of a bender. How many pair of golf shoes have you ever owned at one time?
One. Like when I bought new shoes, it was because I had to.
Yeah.
Like they were torn or they were lost.
Yeah, that's what happened. The first round I played with Owen when he took the sport up in, I guess it was in the spring of 22 then, when he started playing. The first round we played, the sole of one of my shoes that I'd had since the 90s fell off as we were walking off the 18th green. Like the shoe literally fell apart.
At least it waited to leave.
I threw them in the garbage and walked to the truck in my socks and put my shoes on, and we went home. So I had to buy new shoes right away. So I bought a pair of shoes then, and I really liked them. And then I bought a second pair that were similar but a different color, and then a third pair. And then I found another style by the same manufacturer that I like even more and bought a pair and then bought a second pair, and I have 5 pair of golf shoes.
Wow. You can mix and match. Make a case based on the colors.
Plain black ones, plain white ones, white with orange, gray, and blue.
Yeah.
So I can mix and match with my my outfits that my wife always compliments me on, but refuses to go anywhere with me outside of the house if I'm wearing that. Oh, you look great.
For golf.
No, I am not going anywhere with you dressed like that.
You look good for a golfer.
You look good for golf. Go golf. Go enjoy. You look good. Great. No, we're not going out for drinks like that. No, change. She doesn't actually say that, but she feels it. I can tell. So I bought a bunch of clothes. I'm not buying any more clothes or shoes. I gotta stop. That's how they get you, though.
That's how they get you, by offering more.
Well,
new styles.
For a while,
having them rip.
My Facebook feed is like every other post is golf clothes or shoes from the manufacturer I've bought now 5 pair of shoes in 3 years from. So it's been. There's some adversity there. I've got to fight through it.
You're like me in my shoe phase, but as a golfer.
Yeah.
I never had more than 1 pair of golf shoes, but I did have that run with shoes.
Yeah.
Jeans. This sounds like jeans to me a little bit. So I have like 3. There's a rotation of 3 right now for me in terms of jeans. Mm-hmm. And they're all starting to rip.
Uh-oh.
Like all 3, the thighs and then a couple other spots, like they're all starting to go kind of like at the same time. And I'm just like so close to shorts season that
you can make it.
I'm kind of hoping to make it. 3 pairs, I'm hoping to make it, but like they just tear a little bit more. When I was in Philadelphia Saturday night, I had this 1 pair of jeans and I put them on, and there was like a little. I heard the rip sort of expand.
Oh boy!
And
that's real trouble.
We're about at the end for all of them, but can I just, if I can get to Memorial Day,
right?
Probably
You're home free.
Then I'm not going to need much for a few months. That's part of the reason shorts today. It was cold this morning, but I'm not waiting because the jeans situation is less than perfect.
You need to save them for when you really need them.
I need to save them for when I really need them, which is not working here when it's 68 out.
Right.
That is exactly right.
Yeah.
Thomas bogeyed for 62, ties the course record. Then he did that gross golfer thing you see every time where he takes his hat off. It's hot and sweaty and runs his hand through his hair a bunch of times and then shakes everybody's hand. You'd think it would be a joke to do that to people, but he's not kidding. Golfers are not kidding when they do that. They just take the hat off because their head is all sweaty, and then they just rub their hands in their hair, and then they go and shake your hand. That should be stopped. That practice, never do that. You're going on the course tomorrow.
I have
never do that.
I will not. I never do it.
Never do that. Leave the hat on until the handshakes are over, at least.
Oh, no, I'll take the hat off and just not do anything with my hat. I'll take my hat off with my left hand and just extend my right hand to shake hands. That's fine.
The head can wait 30 seconds, though.
Yeah. Well, it's a sign of respect, though.
That's true. Is that still a thing?
I think so. Yeah.
All right, then that's the right move. Then, if that's a sign, you're right.
Just don't run.
Just don't.
I wonder if there's someone out there that tracks which guys do it to which guys. Like is it a thing? Remember we had that thing where O'Reilly and Eichel didn't like each other and they didn't celebrate the goal. Look, he high fives everyone else but skipped him. That kind of thing.
Yes.
Like, I wonder if there's someone out there with a website devoted to, or a Twitter feed devoted to analyzing. Does Justin Thomas do that no matter who he's playing with, or is it only certain dudes?
Got to think so.
I would think so, but you never know.
Jack's in town. He just turned us on, and that's what he heard. A reference to the O'Reilly. Like, are these guys talking about this all day? What a stupid thing. Just kidding. He would listen anyway on the app. He wouldn't have to be in town to hear our show. He would listen wherever he is. On the plane. Just want to see what those guys are up to. If they're still talking about me. We were, as it turns out, for a minute there. He does seem like the kind of guy that would take his helmet off and rub his hand through his hair and then shake your hand, though. Not as a sign of respect.
No.
Just to mess with you. I don't know why I would say that. Adam Krautwurst today, Bulldog. What were your thoughts? Did he get the job done for you?
He lived up to the advanced billing, I would say. The advanced billing of
very modest
of being texted at 3:45 to come on at 4:00.
Yes, there was not much billing. Adam would have to agree. But he was on our show. We didn't really spend a lot of time on fantasy, even though that's his stock and trade. But what the Bills have done, Joshua Palmer, what we expect from him production-wise, Kincaid, Coleman, the Bills' offense, and then some of the bigger moves of the week around the NFL. If you missed Brian Koziol today, Brandon Beane's press conference, anything else you want to get back caught up on, hit the Odyssey app, on-demand audio. Adam and us from earlier after this. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
Never miss a second of